All right, friends. It finally was announced. Kind of the way I thought it was going to be. Just kind of like, oh, yeah, and Connor's going to be the starter. Connor Wegman, your starting quarterback this weekend against New Mexico. No surprise if you've been reading the boards and just deductive reasoning. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Here during the Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Maroon never looked so good with Maroon New. Olin Buchanan with me. OB, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So we kind of expected it. Well, not kind of. We knew it was trending in that direction. Mm-hmm. Now it's official. Does that silence the people out there? Why did it take them so long?
Well, I think it should. I mean, now you know, but I'm excited about that because of what I've seen with my eyes. Right? Look, Max, when he started those 3 games, he was solid. You know, he didn't make mistakes. He made some big plays. Sometimes they got called back. But, you know, he was a good quarterback. But, you know, I go back to Connor and the way he looked about Ole Miss in his very first collegiate start. And there were ups and downs, but the ups were pretty amazing. And then, you know, against LSU, I thought he was excellent. So why not expect a guy to be significantly better in his second year?
I made this comment to Billy. If he's just better than what they've had the last 2 years, just a little bit better. I think he's going to be much better. But if he's just a little bit better, it's not 5-7. Maybe 7-5, 8-4, but it's not 5-7. If he's there in 2021, who knows, right? And obviously, he was in high school, so that was impossible. My point is, just a little bit of an elevation we will see significant progress. Throw in a new offense, we're going to see significant improvement offensively.
I expect that, and I expect, with the new offense, I think is really important. But I think that I expect him to be not just a little bit better than the guys before. I think, like I said, I think he'll be significantly better than he was last year, with a year behind him. And then, the guys that he has to throw to, he has guys that can make him look even better.
Yep.
So
spread it out.
Have an offensive coordinator that's going to do whatever it takes to get advantageous matchups, and you just get the ball to those guys and let them go to work.
Yeah, I am just as excited about him being the on-field general, right? Because I think when you are the 13 quarterback who is thrusted into the starting role, right? I believe you're giving me a look like I had
no.
I
had a scratch.
Okay.
I had an itch.
You looked at me and I was like, did I have a booger?
No, I just wanted to hear what you had to say.
But there's something about being the guy, and everybody knows you're the guy, as opposed to, well, now it's your turn. There's a difference, right? We have selected you to be our guy. Every one of these players has selected you. The coaches have selected you. Let's go do it. There's a different kind of leadership that comes with that.
I agree. When everybody believes in you, it means so much. You know, Clemson had a quarterback several years ago, started against A&M, that had quarterbacked them to a ACC championship, and 4 games into the next year, they said, we're going to have to bench him for this young kid, Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
And nobody on that team objected because they knew.
They knew he was the guy. Yep, they knew he was the guy. And I think maybe unfortunately for Clemson last year, they waited just a little too long to make that switch.
They did. And Clay Kubnik is a good quarterback, problem. Wasn't as ready as, say, Trevor Lawrence was.
Sure.
Okay, who is? But, they probably would have been better served, just as A&M would have been better served had they made the move to Connor Wegman earlier.
But now's the time. So we're going to switch it up a little bit. Billy's actually going to join us here at the top of the program. So if you were waiting for 8:35, you don't have to wait any longer. We go straight to the hotline. We're joined by Billy Liucci, executive editor of TexAgs, co-owner. Good morning, Billy.
Morning, David.
You know, we always have these formal introductions. I'm so happy to hear your voice today. Thank you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, buddy.
Connor,
I'm over here waiting to go on with Lang and Doring on SEC radio here in about 30 minutes, too.
well, let's talk about it.
There's
Obviously,
a lot of A&M chatter today.
yeah. Well, let's start it off with Connor being the guy. Something you projected a while back, and now it's official.
Yeah, and I think everybody projected that, and it was the reason why we, whether it's, us that talk and write about it, or whether it's people just, casual fans. I know I talked to a few former players that just said that, that we talk regularly, that were just like, it's got to be Connor. It's got to be Connor. And my thing was always, no, I don't think it has to be Connor. I think it likely will be Connor, and I can understand why. Because same reason they were saying was, you go back and you look at how he finished the season, and like I continuously said throughout this offseason, ever since they signed him, to me, Connor Wiggan is the future of the quarterback position at A&M. And we hope he hits the ground running and looks like an even better version of the guy we saw finish last season. Because if he does, he could be one of the guys from Outkick was asking me if they should make Ruben Owens their dark horse for I think he said SEC Player of the Year. And I said, before I would do that, I would go with Connor Wigman. And Connor's, this was like yesterday, that Connor's going to start, and he's got that game, guys. We saw it. We've seen it. We saw it at Bridgeland. We saw it last fall in his first career start against Ole Miss. Remember how down A&M was coming into that game, too. South Carolina lost. The offense had been doing nothing. And I think, I'm pretty sure the Aggies scored touchdowns on their first two drives, or at least 10 points on their first two drives. It was just a spark that he provided. And then that LSU game was the last time we saw him play. So, to me, he needed to win that starting job, but I also thought he had to win it, because Max Johnson did not lose it. Max Johnson started 3 games. He won 2 of them, Miami and Arkansas. Also, when A&M was at rock bottom after App State, he's got all that experience, and then he broke his hand. So I think he had, and you entered in the Bobby Petrino thing, the new offense, new coordinator. Connor had to win it in front of his teammates this spring and summer, and he did just that. You can quibble with the timing of it, and I can certainly see that part, but he had to win the job in front of coaches and teammates alike, and he did just that.
Billy, I envision if Connor's healthy all year, I envision a 3,000 plus passing season, 500 yards or more rushing, and though not necessarily predicting him to be a Heisman finalist, but somebody that'll be at least discussed as a possible candidate. Tell me why I'm right, or why I'm being overhyped. Why I'm overhyping him. Which is it?
I don't think you're overhyping with those numbers at all. I think that's very reasonable for him as a full year starter. But I think the things that could hold him back from that second part, which is being in the conversation for a Heisman Trophy as a sophomore, would be, and a first year starter essentially, would be just, will the A&M team be that good? Because to come that far off the radar, I think he would have to engineer, some really significant wins to where the Aggies, were a threat, kind of at least like at LSU last year, which is, we've talked about. It is doable. It is not at all impossible. I think they're the most likely team in this league outside of Georgia, Bama, and LSU, kind of the 3 favorites to crash that party. Out of the other 11, I think A&M, and it's not by a wide margin, but I think they're the most likely to do it. And if they do, I think it'll be because Connor does put up those kind of numbers and have that kind of season. So I don't think you're completely out there with it. I just think there's too many established candidates this year ahead that A&M would have to have a big season, like I would say be in contention, for an SEC West title and playoff berth, going into that last game, even against LSU, have wins over, start the season with a bunch of wins, led by number 15, and then, maybe get like a split against Bama and Tennessee to where you go into LSU and this team's rated, is ranked really high with a lot to play for.
Well,
and with Connor and the A&M passing game being a big part of the reason why.
Well, based on what we saw from this team last year, if we do hit the numbers that I just projected or somewhere, do you think maybe that equates to that? How much team success?
I mean, it certainly would be a big factor in it. I'd want to see the defense and how they perform this year. I mean, yeah, like I said, Olin, I agree with you. I mean, I just think to get into that Heisman race, A&M would have to be pretty elite on the field, and that's going to tie into how does this defense perform this year. Because I don't think they're going to be sitting there giving up 30-something points a game. So if you're scoring that many, yeah. But you could, to me, if the Aggies had dropped, if they don't start and hit the ground running and they drop one in September and then drop one to Bama or Tennessee, I think they're out of that. They're out of that mix where you're going kind of like a Hendon Hooker last year,
mm-hmm.
who similarly came out of nowhere, and you're going, man, this team is this massive surprise in college football right now. They're contending for the SEC. Boom, they just beat Bama. Had Tennessee lost a game in September and won another one by mid-season, I don't think he's in the conversation. And that A&M offense could still be really good, and that could happen. So I still think the key to the whole season, not just for individual awards but for Connor, is the start. I mean, they have to be playing good in September, and it's something I've talked about with people. We don't discuss, what would happen if Wigman is that guy that we saw, and I believe he is, but I mean from minute one, okay? He is that guy we saw against LSU and against Ole Miss, because I think that was a 8-quarter glimpse into what he can do every week and then just get better with experience. But what if he's that guy immediately and this Bobby Petrino offense clicks on all cylinders early in the season? I don't hear a lot of people just kind of discussing. We talk about, can they score in the 30s? What if they go out and score in the 40s against teams like Miami and Auburn? What if it's really clicking early season and people around the country are going, oh, wow, look at this. So, I mean, we haven't bandied around that possibility yet. I don't think enough. I mean, because I think that's within the realm of possibility. And if it is, then what are people saying about Connor and this Aggie offense?
Billy, follow me on this. Last year, he wasn't the starter, obviously. He fell into it after some injuries and some inability to score. But we knew he had it. Mm-hmm. This year, he's going into the season as the guy. How do you think that changes his leadership, his mindset? Because now it's his job. He hasn't been sharing it. It is his role.
Well, and that's the interesting discussion, because Jimbo has always tended to wait very long in this thing. And you wonder, and I heard Olin when he came on, had you done it sooner, what does that do for exactly what you're saying? To say, hey, it's your team, lead it. How does that change things? Now, I think it's been trending a certain way, through kind of as fall camp has progressed. And the good thing is Max pushed him. Max had a really good stretch of days and practices, and then Connor responded with that 6 touchdown or so second scrimmage. And I think that's a direct result of, hey, the guy that's trying to fight you for the job has been practicing really well. And I thought that was a great statement by Connor to respond. And I think we've always thought it would be Connor. I think everybody expected that announcement to come eventually, but I think that spring game was kind of not spring game. What am I talking about? That scrimmage was kind of like what opened everybody's eyes and say, okay, he's ready to roll. And he had a good camp from wire to wire. Don't get me wrong. There was not like this lull while Max was performing really well. So and making a push. It wasn't like Connor was slacking, but he just, it was like a light switch went off. He said, okay, I'm gonna go ahead, and this is my job, and I'm gonna keep it today. So I think I've noticed leadership in him throughout the off season. And I remember midway through last year, he told me, I said, are you ready if you need to be? Or do you feel like, you'll be better served to start a few weeks later, which is what ended up happening. But weeks before he got that start against Ole Miss, he sat there in the TexAgs studios before we went on air, and he said, he's like, I'm ready. I'm absolutely ready. And he said some things along the way that I really like about his level of leadership, things like that. Just off the air, on the air. But I've noticed a different guy this summer, a different guy this off season, and I think he had to win the battle. I think in his mind, he's been the guy since, I'm going to say probably since when he took the field against LSU, but certainly since he walked off the field against LSU, a winner in that game, and entered the offseason. In his mind, he's been the guy, and I think he's been operating and acting as such since that point in time, which is good because, I think he's shown a lot to his teammates in terms of how serious he is about the position.
Billy, before we let you go, this weekend, ideally he plays 2.5 quarters, really good offense. You see Max for a bit and maybe one of the other guys?
Yeah, perfect world. I mean, I think that you want to get him. You're get a big game next week against a good quarterback who didn't have a good year, good quarterback, and you're going to have to go down to Miami and score points, and he's going to be the guy leading that charge. So, yeah, I think you get him enough work, and you hope the game's going the right way because Max needs work too. And, yeah, it'd be nice to see that. 2.5 is always, to me, the magic number when it comes to these type games. And then, you end up going, we've seen too many times that quarterback, the offense struggle, and the quarterback have to go, into the fourth quarter, and then it becomes a burn the clock quarter, and then your backup gets a drive, and that's I always hate when we see that happen. And you like to back up in a game where you're supposed to win big, 38-point spread, to be able to come in and throw some passes and cut it down the field a little bit. So hopefully we'll see that. But I'll tell you this. I don't think – I'm thinking back at A&M quarterbacks, and I don't think there's a – I think Connor Wigman has more, there was Kyler Murray who took over in a mid-season for a couple games, and that didn't go well, and before you knew it, he was gone, right? But I don't know that entering a season, there's been as much excitement about a starting quarterback. I don't know, OB. You're thinking the answer to this already right now in your head, I think. Since when? I mean, let's remember, I'm not talking about a returning starter, but let's remember there wasn't an incredible amount of excitement. There wasn't when Johnny was named. Hell, we just hashed through all that with the documentary. Kyle Allen,
yeah. Reggie.
People
maybe?
had seen probably Reggie or McGee, probably Reggie or McGee, right? I mean. Tannehill, I mean, you're going back to around that time period. I'm trying to remember because, Tannehill kind of took over in game 3, so he had finished the season. So there was no, big surprise announcement of Tannehill. Not that this was a big surprise, but you might go McNeil McGee in that time period.
Yeah, I might.
But this is there's a lot of excitement for the A&M starting quarterback going into this season. There's no question about it. As much as we've seen in a while.
I do think that he potentially, I think we all agree, potentially could be A&M's best quarterback since Johnny Manziel. I mean, I think the best quarterback they've had since Johnny Manziel for one season was Kellen Mond, and then beyond that, Trevor Knight.
Yeah. Trevor again didn't come in. He won people over. I mean, he came in with some credentials, but had also, lost that job up there to Baker. Mm-hmm. It wasn't like Trevor was a lot better, I think, than I don't even think myself. I think every Aggie fan thought. Like when Trevor came in and started playing the way he did, I think that was like really impressive and a pleasant surprise. But yeah, I think just when you're talking about build up and excitement level, and it's because of the way Connor plays the game, the quick release, the feel for the game, kind of the vision there when, as he's moving around in the pocket, he still sees things. And then, that kind of uncoachable feel for the rush, that he's got and he's had since high school. And then I just think the competitor in him is two things that are underrated are scrambling ability / running ability and just the competitor. You remember that hit he takes against Ole Miss and he throws a touchdown on the next play. Him against, LSU and just that was a fight. And throwing the ball up to Moose in those situations, that's competing. Coming out at the start of that Ole Miss game and throwing dimes and hitting Evan in the end zone like that, there's a certain energy level that is elevated by everybody in the huddle when he's in there, and that I think is something you can't coach and you can't quantify. You just have to watch it and go, okay, that's good.
Billy, got to drop it there. I know you got your hit on SEC radio. Thanks very much.
All right, Dave.
Later.
See you guys.
Billy Liucci. Executive editor, co-owner of TexAgs. All right, let's we're way late. We've kind of steamrolled through the stop sign. OB, if we were to say Connor Wigman, the 5-star quarterback that he is, was a food item at Fargo's.
Oh, he's the rib tips.
I knew you were going to go there.
Yeah.
Like it was just, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me throw another one. Anaya Smith would be
rib tips.
Okay. All right. All right. Let's keep playing.
Well, it depends on what day.
Okay.
Because
it could be a Saturday or a Tuesday, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I want my rib tips on Saturday. That's not a coincidence. But yeah, Reuben Owens.
Let's say it's a Wednesday.
A Wednesday, then Reuben Owens, he's special. I think he's special. Yeah. So on a Wednesday, he'd be like chopped beef on a baked potato.
Okay. How about a 5-star side item?
Oh, well, what day?
You just pick a day.
Thursday.
My favorite one?
Yeah, macaroni and cheese.
That would be who then? Who would be the macaroni? Who would be the cheese? Is it just all in one? That's Anias because he's all purpose.
Or you could just say macaroni mousse and cheese Stewart.
Yeah, I don't know if that one worked as well. But
I'm just saying that two together, awesome.
I don't know if this is our best spot or our worst, but I'm enjoying it.
I'd like you enjoy food at Fargo's.
Yeah. All right, one last one.
Okay.
Catfish. Do we got a catfish?
Oh man, that would a catfish. That would be Manti Te'o.
Fargo, 1701 South. How did you come up with that so quickly? 1701 South Texas Avenue in Bryan. Without a doubt, the best barbecue in town. That's their trademark because it's
true.
Thank you. It's
Fargo's.
Bye. And we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the Warehouse at CC Creations. Olin Buchanan, David Nuño. Connor Wigman named the starter yesterday, so I think a lot of optimism and happiness about that, where the offense is going to go. And for Billy to drop that little thought, because I almost don't allow my mind to go there, OB. Like, what if they score 40 points a game? Like, I feel like that's such a – I'm not saying it's not possible with the talent that they have. It's absolutely possible. My mind has a hard time going there because of what I've become accustomed to seeing.
Yeah, I understand that. And that's why, especially if it does happen, or even if it's in their 30s, the national narrative, I think, is going to be, hey, look how Bobby Petrino saved things. But I think it's to applaud Jimbo Fisher for this is, again, if that offense is more explosive, and we think it will be, for acknowledging a need for change, and B, making the change, and then C, for making it Bobby Petrino, which brought at first a lot of derision and ridicule until people sat back and started thinking about it. And they're like,
wait,
oh my gosh,
this might work.
Yeah.
What is a good comparison of that? Like, you guys got you got Petrino? Like, I know there's a sports comparison out there. There's comparisons out. We'll give it some thought. The texters on the text line will be able to figure it out. 979-693-1150. Hello to our friends on the CW. Hello to our friends on the Zone. Hello to our friends on YouTube. And even you, TexAgs.com. Let's go behind the glass and say hello to Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
God, that light looks good, man.
Thank you.
I'm so used to you being in a creepy hotel room. Now it looks like a blue light special, but it looks good.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, I mean, thanks to Dalton, and thanks to you for wanting a little bit of life in here. But anyways, excited about Connor. But I don't know if y'all saw this really cool story on the TexAgs forum. I don't even know how you say this username, so I'm not going to. But he posted a picture of his little nephew. Basically, the story goes that he played in his first ever football game, Pee Wee football, and he tore his ACL and fractured his arm or something like that in the very first game. And so, I guess Bryce Foster heard about it in some way or another and got in touch with him, and he just spent 30 minutes talking to him on FaceTime and whatnot, and just talking about the recovery process. And I know Bryce, every time he's come in here for Stacked interview, has been super open about what it's like to go through something like that. So I just thought it was really cool to bring that up and show that. And I mean, Bryce Foster's a heck of a dude for that.
Yeah, that is. I didn't know that. I didn't see that story. That's wonderful. That's what sports is about, right? Like meeting your almost heroes and heroes, like guys that become your hero because of these interactions, like the showing. This guy is a track athlete, busy with school, busy with trying to get back into his game shape with his first game in a minute. Like, there's a lot of things going on, and he takes the time to do that. I think that's beautiful.
I think it is. It says a lot for Bryce, because sometimes when you meet your sports heroes, it doesn't go well, and you're like, oh, wasn't the kind of guy I thought he'd be.
Yeah.
But when you see a guy like Bryce make that kind of take the time out of his day, do that. That is special.
Hey, I see this message from John Boy on the YouTube page. We'll get to that in a moment, but let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. We're trying to catch up on the clock, so we'll go quickly. Luke Evangelos, good morning, buddy.
Good morning, David. I'm feeling really blessed and excited because it's not every day I get to walk into the studio and see the Blue Man Group live in concert.
I think he's got go-to lines. Like he if there's something about our outfit that he can talk about, he will talk about it. Good one.
Anyways, I want to quickly give a shout out to Cam Coleman, who started his senior season on Friday. The 5-star wide receiver had 9 catches for 138 yards and 2 touchdowns and a 48-24 win.
I appreciate that, Speedy Gonzalez.
See, you can call him that.
Why? Because I'm part of the community?
Yes.
Huh.
I'd get canceled.
You're married to one. You're out.
Oh, okay. Slowpoke Rodriguez. That was his cousin.
Do you know who Speedy Gonzalez is?
Yeah.
Oh, he does. So
they do look alike.
Okay.
Whatever you say, Papa Smurf.
If you put a hat on him, that's good. That's good. But I'm actually more hefty Smurf. Wasn't that the strong one?
I didn't really pay attention to the Smurfs. No.
Thought you were into furries. All right, let's do this. Let's hit a break. We will come back with some questions. We got to do our what is it? I was about to call it by its old name, not that name, the Apex Performance of the Week. Thank you very much, presented by Apex. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about Caprock Health System. They are highly personalized emergency care here in the Brazos Valley who put their patients first. It's a very unique one-on-one experience when you go there to Caprock Hospital. Should your visit require you to be there a little bit longer, they're going to manage every element of your stay out there with a very low patient to doctor-nurse ratio, which means their medical team gets to know you and your individual needs with their hotel-quality rooms that you will feel very comfortable in there. When you're not feeling comfortable, they want to make sure that you feel your best in your rooms out there. Experience the difference there with Caprock Health System. Patient-centered care, 100% locally owned and operated, putting the patient first in every decision that they make, which is their sole purpose, to make you feel better, without a doubt. 2 convenient state-of-the-art facilities designed for patient healing and family friendliness. Caprock Hospital in Bryan and Caprock 24-hour Emergency Center in College Station. Both have 0 wait time for emergency care, so you'll never have to sit in a crowded waiting room. Make sure you check them out. It is Caprock Hospital in Bryan and Caprock 24-hour Emergency Center in College Station. And we are back, TexAgs Radio. Presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations. Time for the Apex Performance of the Week. Apex Performance of the Week presented by Apex Health. Feeling like you're losing your edge? It could be low testosterone. Increase your energy, sharpen your focus, and boost your performance with a custom treatment plan from Apex Health. Learn more at apexhealthclinic.com. The Apex Health Clinic is owned and operated by a veteran serving the Brazos Valley. OB, do you have somebody in mind?
Well, We could say Connor Wigman for winning that
Winning the battle?
quarterback competition. How about the volleyball team? They got off to a
How about
good
that?
start with 2 wins.
Yeah, we're going to have Jamie Morrison in studio in right about a little less than an hour. Looking forward to talking to him.
Wasn't it last week? It was probably 2 weeks ago when Wade Taylor was named like the
Greatest
preseason
ever.
player of the year.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
It's a good. It's here. It's here, and now we'll be able
There's
to.
so much talent on this campus. They just got to put it in all sports. Just got to start putting it together.
I was hoping you were going to say in this building, but yes, on this campus as well. I'm going to throw in some obvious ones
At this desk.
at this desk on this side of the desk. Sam Hartman, Notre Dame,
Yeah.
42-3 win over Navy, 19 of 23, 251 yards, down a school record with 4 touchdown passes in a debut. Look, I have a feeling he may show up on some list here over the next week or so. The dude, right now, balling. He did what he's supposed to do, but he did it.
Yeah, well, Navy's terrible, but you're supposed to exploit a terrible team, and they did. So, yeah, he's going to be a Heisman contender because he's at Notre Dame, and quite frankly, they don't play that challenging schedule, especially against defenses.
Yep.
I mean, who's the best team on Notre Dame's schedule?
No, they play Clemson. They play
Clemson, which was like 76th in the nation last year in pass defense.
They play Clemson. They play USC.
Yeah, and you saw what that defense looked like.
There's one more they play, but they
Ohio State.
Ohio State. Yeah, early on. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a schedule.
it's a schedule.
It's I think it's a
And
little
then
bit
the
more
rest-
difficult.
And then the rest of the times they're playing
Little Sisters of the Poor.
ACC teams and Navy and the like.
Tennessee State. Good
Tennessee
times.
State.
I'm going to do another one. Then I'm going to let Nick do the last one. I'm going to do USC freshman Zachariah Branch, 2 touchdowns, 232 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns on 9 touches, including that 96-yard kickoff return. I had forgotten. I remember it was a 2-score game at the end of the third quarter. It was also a 1-score game at the half.
Yeah, I mean, San Jose State, they afforded themselves well.
Zachariah Branch becoming a star in that game. Nick, you mentioned one to me earlier. You're like, are we going to add one more? I'm going to let you add that one.
Yeah, of course. You can't mention it without, or can't mention the performance of the week without Jose Altuve hitting for his first cycle of his career. He's been playing, for a while now. Went 4 for 6 with 4 RBIs and 4 runs scored, and he's just been on a tear ever since he came back. So I thought I was going to get my last baseball comment in yesterday, but Altuve came through, so worth mentioning, I think.
By the way, I want to bring this up. Some people on the boards giving us a hard time last week for the Seattle Mariners, who, by the way, are the hottest team in baseball.
Boy, they are. They're now in first place.
They were, 5 games out a month ago, 3 weeks ago, whatever it was. All right, talking about the Seattle Mariners on this segment, talking about the Los Angeles Dodgers. Just so you guys know how it works, and I'm talking to you, that one poster who started, just so you understand how it works. I prefer to choose Aggies for this segment, as you do too, right, OB?
I prefer.
Yeah. When Aggies aren't really playing, I mean, we can throw one out there, but it's the performance of the week, and we try to look at the entire landscape of sports, and sometimes you got to pick guys. Doesn't mean we're woke and we want to move to the West Coast. This is a Texas A&M website. How dare you? This is how. Because I wanted to. I picked the best performance of the week. Thank you.
David is the apex performer of the week for that.
Yeah. Well, I'm an Aggie, so it should satisfy their needs.
I know I wouldn't mess with you, Mr. Taekwondo over there.
Not Taekwondo.
Jiu-jitsu or
I'm
whatever
jiu-jitsu.
it is.
Buddy, the guillotine choke that I'm working on.
Oh, the
it's
guillotine
good.
choke.
Pretty good.
Should get those. I don't know. Are they texters? Or are they
Posters.
posters?
No, I'm not going to fight them. I don't want to hurt
annoying
anybody.
you into the
No.
guillotine choke.
No. I'm just saying, don't
The
complain about it.
Rangers are kind of like in the guillotine choke right now.
Well, my thing is you don't have to complain about everything. Just use your brain. Don't be an idiot. Don't be stupid. Pardon? Okay.
Sure.
Oh, we lost. So am I on the air?
You got guillotine choked out.
I'm going to keep talking. Oh, okay. Thank you. Anyway, let's go to Luke Evangelist at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. The last time he upset me, you know what happened. Luke, good morning, sir.
Good morning, David, again. I've got a question for you from Sutton in College Station. They want to know, as a fan and as a journalist, what position are you focused on in the first quarter on Saturday on offense and on defense?
I don't know if I focus on one per se, OB. I want to see an offense that moves, right? That's the first thing I want to see. I also want to see how we stop the run. Those are the big storylines that I've wanted to see. So are we moving the ball? Do we go 3 and out to start the season? That will upset me, right? I don't want to see that. I'd like to see maybe a 3 and score, a run, play action pass, bam, touchdown.
I have to admit, I'm very intrigued to see the Torian York kid.
I've got a lot of people stop me. In fact, this morning, somebody stopped me about it. I'm like, is he really legit like a starter? I'm like, all the things I'm hearing is very smart player, very instinctual. Listen to his interviews. You'll be like, oh, I love this kid. And he can back it up with his play.
Yeah, so I really want to see him. But, it comes down to the two things. I want to see A&M's offensive line dominate the line of scrimmage. If you can't do it against New Mexico, why are you going to do it in the SEC? And I want to see the pass rush dominate, because if you can't get a pressure against New Mexico, why are you going to get pressure against Alabama?
Right. Let's go back to Luke. I'm not sure we can take a caller just yet. We may have to wait a moment because we're having some issues back there at the mothership or here. Luke, let's get to some of those on YouTube.
Yeah, John Boy on the YouTube chat wants to know, is there a single position that isn't better this year than last year? Maybe running back isn't proven, maybe tight end with injury.
Running back is that's not proven. I mean, it's going to be very hard to pass what Devon did. Tight end, obviously, with the injury. Let me think. We hope linebacker's better, right?
It's a low bar.
We hope linebacker's better. Defensive line, I think, just because of the talent that's on there and experience, should be better.
And, health.
Potentially cornerback better?
Yes.
Oh.
At the very least, I think it's the same.
Offensive line?
It's got to be better.
If Bryce, a healthy Bryce makes it better.
A healthy Zune.
Quarterback should be better regardless. Experience, and you're starting with your
almost always going to be better in your second year than you were as a true freshman. Yes.
Yeah.
So I think running back is the only one I come up with and say, okay, maybe tight end, but definitely running back. And that doesn't mean the running backs. You could put a damn good running back there and not be as good as Devon H.
Yeah, you're exactly right. What else, Luke?
Yeah, Chuck from Houston has a question for y'all. He wants to know what you think the outlook is for offensive line. I know you just talked about it a little bit, but he thinks that's the key to Connor being a good quarterback versus a great one. And he points out how the 2020 Maroon Goons really helped accelerate our offense that year.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's all true.
I think we've been talking about that since last year. Like it is all about the trenches, especially for this team, every team. But you got to keep your quarterback healthy. Mm-hmm. You got to give him time to do what he does. And unfortunately, the last couple of years, it's been too inconsistent.
Right now, they're healthy. I think as long as they're healthy, I think you're going to have I'm not ready to call it elite offensive line, but I think you'll have a solid, capable offensive line as long as they're healthy, and we'll see what they build into. But I've heard nothing but good things about Basantes. Bryce being back, Zune not being hurt. I liked what I saw from Dewberry. Layden Robinson is the most experienced guy out there. So, as long as they're healthy, I think it'll be at the very least a solid offensive line.
Casey Harmon, sometimes you can't understand tone when you read something online. Says, please say center for Christ's sake. There on the YouTube page. Our center was embarrassing. Wyckoff wasn't what I thought he would be.
What we were told he was.
And Bryce was injured. So, center.
When Bryce was playing, he was good.
Yeah.
And I think he's playing, I think he'll be good.
I do too. Let's hit a break. I think we're going to hear from Jimbo in the next segment, and we'll try to get to the caller who was calling Ross earlier. Right now, it is time to talk about All Aggie Hullabaloo, which runs coming up real soon, heading to this game Saturday. The Association of Former Students wants to invite you to join them at the All Aggie Hullabaloo. Make the Clayton W. Williams Jr. Alumni Center your game day headquarters every home game this fall, and enjoy free drinks, food, trucks, a vendor marketplace, DJ Rob, at the game, and much, much more. Plus, if you have questions about your Aggie ring or need to have it resized, the Aggie ring office will be open throughout the event. It is the all Aggie hullabaloo starting 3 hours before kickoff. Admission is completely free. You'll need to claim a wristband for your drinks, and you can do that by registering at tx.ag/all Aggie hullabaloo. If you're a business interested in becoming a vendor at the event, email the association at sponsorships@aggienetwork.com. Don't miss out on a great event, and don't forget to register for your wristband at tx.ag/all Aggie hullabaloo. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Appreciate everybody listening in. I think we can take callers again, so if you want to be a part of the conversation, call us up 979-693-1150. A lot of people are texting in today with questions, and on the YouTube page and whatnot. An 817 says, "You are feeding the trolls, David." No. What he doesn't understand is they're feeding me. I enjoy the battle.
They're feeding the studs?
Yeah. I'm the stud in this equation, okay? They're feeding me. I enjoy confrontation. Some people don't. I enjoy it.
All right.
Thank you. Don't try me.
Okay, Ricky Ricardo.
Luke Evangelist at the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. I can just say Luke. Luke, let's get into some more questions, shall we?
Yeah, well, Ross from East of East, Texas wants to say that he would love if y'all talked more MLB in July and August. And we are in August.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we did have Rangers play-by-play guy on. You know, I've talked to some Astros guys. You know, it'd be, I don't know. At the end of the day, to me, July and August is about SEC media days and getting ready for the season. Maybe an extra segment here or there, sure.
Well, that had to, for the most part, be between you and Nick over there.
Yeah.
Because I only keep up with Major League Baseball kind of on the peripheral. I started watching the Rangers and they started losing.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're in the guillotine choke right now.
Well, that's what happens.
About to tap out.
I know my buddy Philip wants us to talk a little bit more MLB during the offseason. We try. I mean, there's moments. What else, Luke?
So Nathan on the YouTube chat asked, who do you think gets the 12th man this year? Some people are saying Sam Matthews. David and OB, if y'all have any prediction
Sam Matthews,
or something.
I feel Billy said that as well on the Luchador. I think he did. I think Sam Matthews seems like a great choice.
Sure. I don't even know the other guys.
Somebody's going to get it, and we're going to end up loving them.
It's a nice tradition. I think it's great, but I have to admit, I don't know who the candidates are.
Yeah. I think we'll find out here soon. Luke, let's try to get one more in.
I've got a lot of people talking about OB's one-liner from earlier about catfish.
Oh.
We don't need to repeat it, but you're getting a lot of praise here on the text line.
Yeah.
Hey.
That was a fun year.
Bottom line is, like, now all the chatter heading into, like, when is Connor going to... Connor is officially the guy. I think we have time to hear from Jimbo yesterday where he kind of, I guess in his opening say, and I know you guys are going to ask me about it, so here it is.
Yeah,
so
72 seconds in.
Let's hear from Jimbo Fisher yesterday.
The other thing is, I know you asked here, and we'll get into it. We'll name a starting quarterback. Connor will be the quarterback, the starting quarterback. But he and Max both had great camps, played very, very well. Very tough decision. You got to make a decision, but both guys be ready to play and can play, and where we go. So I think we're very blessed. And as we saw last year, you have to have takes multiple guys sometimes to get through a season. Pray to God it doesn't. As far as that goes, I want nobody to be injured. But when you get two quality guys like we have, it really makes a big difference. So in that regard, so we'll get ready to play and then go on from this week.
All right, Jimbo Fisher breaking it down. Sometimes you need three quarterbacks.
Yeah, I hope it doesn't come to that ever again. Hopefully, like you said, you get one guy and it gets you through the season. I mean, even Tennessee couldn't get through.
It's basically been 2 years in a row of almost needing three, because let's not forget, Zach did get,
he got hurt.
There were a couple times that had there been another option that they felt comfortable with, he probably wouldn't have played.
Probably so.
Marcel Reed, Jalen Henderson, there's some dudes.
Guys, yes.
Yeah, you feel better about.
You have more of an insurance policy than you've had before.
But typically, when you get to your third quarterback,
you're in trouble unless you're
Connor Wegman last year,
or
you were already in trouble.
Ohio State that year when all they did was turn around and hand the ball to Ezekiel Elliott anyway.
Right. Well, we've got a busy rest of the show. Tuesdays, I forgot how busy Tuesdays are going to be during the season. Jamie McCoy coming up.
Oh,
I love Jamie.
Yeah, good
then
dude.
Jamie Morrison The two
So
Jamies.
It's all Jamie.
It's a Jamie hour. And then it's KBTX Roundtable. Tyler, Morgan, Daryl, here together.
All 3.
It's a roundtable.
Okay.
We're just going to talk around the table. Then Jordan Pugh. Then we're going to have a New Mexico insider, Ryan Tamari.
I need to listen to that.
Please. I'm sure. I went on their show. Now they're coming on
So
ours.
we're going to listen to Tamari today.
Tamari today.
Okay.
Yeah. OB, I appreciate you.
All right.
All right, to get your text messages in, we'll get to those here when we can. It is TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And we are back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Very active day today on the YouTube chat, on TexAgs.com, on the text line, because I think you guys, it's not only is it, there's a different intensity when it's game week, right? Like, and especially with that long off season that we had. But it just, I think we're just ready, man. We're starved for success. We're starved for football season. There's been a couple years in a row that you felt kind of good going into the season opener. Like, you're like, I feel like we can really contend this year. But some of that was based on just talent. Just talent. Oh, look, we got. You know, we thought Haynes King was going to be the guy, and we hadn't seen it, right? We thought that the offensive line was going to take steps in the right direction, even though a bunch moved to the NFL, and it did not play out the way we were expecting. But like I've done this exercise a few different times with myself, like taking a step away from where you are right now. Where are the holes that we can see right now, and we'll be able to see in 3 weeks and a month on this Texas A&M roster? Because in reality, there were some that were telling us last year, you got a lot of young players. That's a lot of turnover. Like, how are you going to be able to put it all together? I think that I wasn't able to see the inexperience, how much that was going to cost you. Look, there were other things too. But the inexperience of that really made the way I looked at the season, like I discounted it too much. I believe in that's why, like, the Tony Grimes and Josh DeBerrys, like, they've played high-level football. Yeah, I know they haven't played SEC football. They have played high-level football. And because of that, I really like to see what they can do with this defense. I love the young talent, and that is still the way to build a team. Hello, the two best players from that 22 recruiting class, right? You got Connor, you've got Evan, you've got a big bulk of players that are in their second year that are expected to be like the leaders. But don't discount veteran play. Don't discount those years, and I don't think any of us are. So when I look at this year's team, there's the obvious spots that I question. Like, are you going to be able to stop the run? Are you going to be able to get to the quarterback? Can you protect Connor? Those are the obvious ones. But what other ones are out there? Because it feels like the offense has been figured out. We're going to find out in a few days, but it feels like the offense has been figured out. It feels like there's, that the growth mentally and physically, because these players are also physically mature. They're absolutely more physically mature. We're supposed to get Jamie McCoy here on the program in a moment. Maybe we'll have to call him on the phone, but we'll see if we get Jamie here in a moment. Let's return to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center there with Luke Evangelist. Luke?
Yeah, David, I kind of agree. I wouldn't say there's like a glaring hole to me, because a hole would imply that like there's nothing left. Whereas like last year I could say, oh, maybe there's a hole at linebacker after Edgerrin Cooper and Chris Russell. But this year I feel like we've got talent there at that position. So it's not necessarily a hole. It's more like unproven questions that we have to answer about the linebacker position. But outside of that, I feel really good about the offense. I feel really good about the defense. And I don't think there's like a glaring hole. I just am really excited to watch this team play. And like you said, in a couple of days, we're going to hopefully have some questions answered about different positions.
Look, there are still some serious questions about linebacker, right? But as Luke was alluding to there, or said, I shouldn't say alluding, there's absolutely, what's the word I'm looking for here? There's depth there. There are guys that are turning heads at practice. So there's absolutely all of that. So let's go to the hotline, and we do have Jamie McCoy here to join us on the first Tuesday of the football season. Jamie, good morning, buddy.
What's going on, David? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Where you been?
I am up here running around at the rec center I work at, just like a crazy man.
I bet you are. We'll make this short and easy because I know you're a busy man this morning. All right, now we know Connor's the guy. We've been predicting it. We've been thinking it. It's officially here. How does that change your optimism, if you will, heading into the first game?
For me, it doesn't change it much. I feel like we knew he was going to be the guy, or at least I felt like he was going to be the guy. And for me, more than anything, it just gives me peace of mind knowing that we have a quality backup behind him. Because in actuality, you're only as good as your backup or as good as your second depth. So it's a good deal knowing that we got some veteran leadership back there. Should something go wrong, but I'm happy Connor got the nod. I think he has the most talent for the position.
Jamie, is there an area of the offense you are concerned that you need to see, like, before you believe, all right, this team's going to score 30-plus points a game?
Not necessarily. I don't want to put it all on the offensive line, but I like to see when we are running the ball, I like to see us pushing the pile forward. And then also when we're passing the ball, I don't want to see Connor be rushed. Back early last year, it seemed like Haynes was running for his life. Whoever the guy that was back there just didn't have enough time to sit and have a pretty pocket. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing, if the O-line can step up and be nasty when they need to and then keep our quarterback upright.
Yeah, it's all about the O-line for me, and I'm optimistic about it, no doubt about it, but that is the one area that I need to see. What about defensively, if there's an area that you are concerned with or need to see more?
I don't want to harp on them because I did it all last year, but it's going to be linebacker. I think our D-line is as good as it comes in the country. And then I think they're going to be able to get pressure on whatever quarterback we face. So I think our secondary should do well, and I just absolutely love Damani. I'd like to see somebody make a splash at linebacker to not only have a good season this year, but influence that next high schooler right now that maybe in the year or two to come, they say, okay, I can be a good linebacker at A&M. I can go lead the wrecking crew or bring prominence back to that. So I love to see somebody in that linebacker room, one or two guys step up and become a household name for us this year.
Can you kind of help us understand experience? And what I mean is, like, there's different areas of experience. There's game experience, but there's also time in the saddle, time in the system, right? Understanding what it takes to be a college athlete, understanding the way your coaches want you to operate, and just having a full year under your belt of that, even if you didn't play much the year prior. Kind of, you've been down that road. Explain it to us.
Are you talking in aspect of a quarterback?
No, just in general, just being a college athlete.
Well, for me, I think what comes with it is the speed of the game. When you're jumping from high school to college and college to the NFL, that's the most glaring thing, is how fast and how well prepared the opposing side is. So for me, I think the thing that you get most is after that first year, the game kind of slows down for you. And little mistakes that you may have made, let's say from a quarterback position, you may have went for a long ball when all along they would give you the check down and could have got you the first down and kept the chains moving, where you threw that long ball early on in your career and try to make the big play. Where getting a little bit of experience, whether it's offense or defense, just allows you to kind of, like I said, slow the game down and make the most situationally sound play. A lot of times you, as a young guy, you want to just do something explosive and help the team that way. But with experience and wisdom comes a little age, and you understand where to pick your spot in the game, if that makes sense.
Let's go back to the last couple of years you're at A&M. They were 2 down seasons, and you missed out the next year on a pretty big season. Were there signs of, all right, this team is trending in a certain direction, even though you had a couple of bad years?
I can't say that there were signs, just because every year is its own heartbeat, or it's its own deal in itself. So I can't say that there were signs. What I can say is, if you do get a feeling, or if something does show itself, you need to have leaders that are, one, capable of leading, and two, have the respect of your teammates, that when they do decide to speak up, that the guys around him are going to listen. So I'm hoping that and that's what you get when you have leadership that could have gone to the league, come back with your guys like Damani and Anais. Both of those on either side of the ball should be the ones said, hey, they should be leading the charge in that front.
Who were some of the leaders on those teams during the rough years?
For us?
Yeah.
Steven was always vocal. He did a great job of leading. I can remember Red Bryant being vocal and not wanting to accept some of the situations we had put ourselves in. I'm blanking on his name. Is it Mark Dodge?
Mark Dodge, yeah.
Gosh, was military guy. Yeah, he was good. And who else would it have been? We had some good linemen too.
Was there a lot of turmoil though? Do you remember like chemistry issues or anything like that, or was just you guys were just getting beat?
Man, I think it was game. I think we were getting out schemed. I don't think there was a lot of turmoil between the guys on the team. The only turmoil would have been just not living up to our potential or knowing what we could have done. There wasn't any animosity between teammates. I think we just were getting outclassed on the field and losing some tough ones. So yeah, I can't really speak to that point.
When you watch Connor play, what are parts of his game that you're like, yeah, we haven't seen this in a minute?
I would say his accuracy with the ball. I'm thinking back to that first game that he came in. I think Evan Stewart caught a pass off the left, maybe one-handed or something like that, or maybe it was Moose. But just the spot that he put it in. When you got a quarterback in that red zone that can put it in places where if my guy doesn't catch it, nobody else does, that's winning material. And that was one of the things that stood out to me. And really his composure. For a guy, when you come in there and bullets are flying and everything's coming at you full speed, for him to come in, had played early on in the season and just to go out and win us that game, it spoke leagues about him. I just love his composure and I love his accuracy.
Jimmy, what about his ability to improvise, right? Like knowing when to run and when to pull, slide or get out of bounds and just get those extra yards?
Man, that's just, I don't want to say God-given, but he has a knack for that as well. That was one thing that I hated not to see with Haynes when he was back there. We never really got to see him show off his legs, but Connor does a great job of when he feels something or when the opportunity presents itself to run, he takes full advantage of that. I don't know if Petrino's going to be scheming any halfback reads or any option or anything like that, but I love to see him make use to where defenses have to respect that area and kind of take something out of their game plan to, account for his legs, and then maybe he beats them over the top.
Jamie, what about the tight end position? Donovan Green lost for the year, unfortunately. He showed so much flashes last year. Jake Johnson, healthy. He could be that guy. Theo could be that guy. We know what we have in Max Wright, who's been just so solid for this program. Just your overall thoughts on the tight end position.
This is where somebody's going to have to, the cream rises to the top? Somebody's going to have to take control of that tight end room. You hate to see a veteran go down like Donovan. I was looking for big things from him this year, and I think that would have left an opportunity for that second tight end to come on the field and give us some mismatch problems that we've been waiting on. But with him going down, it's just opportunity for these young guys. I'm hoping that somebody will take advantage and go cement themselves on the roster. In that lineup. I'm not familiar with these guys enough. I'm actually going to be at the game this weekend, so I'm looking forward to seeing them with my own eyes and seeing who's going to make that next step. Hopefully somebody gets a touchdown. But I'll be watching that tight end room for sure in that position just to see who's going to be the guy that steps up for us.
Jamie, I want to kind of go back like we did a moment ago. Do you remember opening games that you were participated in at A&M? Did they tell you anything about that upcoming year? How often does that opening game tell you a lot? How often in your career did it not tell you much?
I would say for the most part, it didn't tell me much, and that's just going back to the days that I played. But one thing that it can tell you is seeing if the stadium is going to be filled or not. That's one thing that I look for, and I look for as a player. We're playing a lower opponent, not really a high stakes game, but can we still get enough support from the 12th man? You love to look up there and see the stadium filled in, no blank spots up there in the corners. So that was one thing that I was looking for. But last year, I could say, with the games, I would have thought that you could see coming into those games, you get a telltale sign. What last year showed me was teams aren't going to play regular football against us. If it's 4th and 3, they're going to go for it because it's A&M, and why not? We're here. We're going to take a chance. I love to see this first game, us go and put our foot on somebody's throat and let it be known that we're not taking anything this year. And if you're going to beat us, you're going to have to come play a whole 48. So that's what I like to see. But for me personally, that first game really never showed what the tempo of the season is going to be like or our demeanor as a team.
Yeah, and how often did you guys go into that game not showing much, right? Like it's kind of a dumbed-down offense, just play it simple, unless it was a big-time opponent, right?
Oh, yeah, that was always the case. I can only remember, I think early on, my redshirt freshman year, I think we played Utah first game. So that was one game where you might have opened up the playbook. But for the most part, you kind of go in running your first, second day install of training camp stuff in the game, hoping that you don't have to divulge too much because you know that second opponent is going to be looking at the film and trying to break down everything that you do. So you don't want to just put it all on tape. But, yeah.
Well, Jamie, man, we're pumped about it. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you next week, hopefully after a very impressive victory.
Oh, yeah, it better be. I know that.
Appreciate
but thanks for having me, David.
You got it, man. Take
care.
All
right, have a good one.
Jamie McCoy
Bye-bye.
on the hotline. Appreciate his time. All right, let's hit a break. We'll come back with the other Jamie Morrison, who's already here in the lobby. We'll chit-chat with him about Aggie volleyball, and then we'll do the KBTX roundtable, talking a little Aggie football for the most part. Right now, Caldwell Country Chevrolet, they are on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Great deals on the website. That's where it starts, right? You can start your search. Your search starts in your mind. You figure out whatever kind of vehicle you want for your family, your situation. If you're single, like I want this kind of car. Family, we need to get more seats because we're growing. Whatever it may be, right? And you start that in your mind. Then you work online at caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. Take a look at the selection. You're gonna find 2 or 3 options that you really like. Then you go in person. You're like, yep, those are the cars. That new car smell awesome, but also the experience there when you get there. Not only are you going to get a great trade-in value and a great deal on your new vehicle, but the entire experience when you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet is superior to all the other ones out there. No doubt about it. When you go there, you're going to experience it because they're not going to just like sell to you, right? They're going to help you through the process. They're going to get you the right vehicle at the right time at the right price. They want to give you a great deal on your next vehicle. Simply call, click, or stop by CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. About a 15-minute drive, Brian to Caldwell. A short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with our friends there at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They are on Highway 21 in Caldwell and online at CaldwellCountryChevrolet.com. Back on it here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Jamie Morrison in studio. Good to see you, man. How you been?
I've been great. I feel like this is becoming a regular occurrence. I like it.
I know. We saw you yesterday, and I'll try to take it a little different direction than the presser went yesterday. But for those who didn't hear it, let's recap the weekend because it was very successful.
Yeah. It's a great foundation to build off of. We went and played 2 good teams. Omaha, who will finish probably top 2 in their conference, was a tournament team last year, I believe. And then Pepperdine, who was receiving votes in the top 25 and returned pretty much everybody from a really solid team last year and added a couple pieces. So went 2-0, and record's great, but just the way we played volleyball was the most exciting piece in terms of, again, a foundation to build off of.
These invitationals, these matches to start the season, they really set the foundation for what you all become later.
Yeah, 100%. And we've talked about it every single week that we got to add little pieces as we go here. And we talked a lot about, I don't know, having growth throughout the season. So, again, it was a foundation, but we came in on Monday. I'd sent them probably about 10 minutes of video of kind of, hey, this is the next little piece that we need to add. And we got to work yesterday in a really, really good short, trying to keep us fresh and understanding that, hey, it's a really long season and paying attention to our sports science team. But really, really effective practice of starting to put some building blocks together.
A little bit more on the sports science, because that is something that I feel like now we hear coaches implement much more often, right? It's a huge part of what programs are doing across the country.
Yeah, and I think you got to realize that it's a very, very long season, both mentally and physically for our athletes. And then we rephrase that for our student athletes. And I think that's what makes it really, really difficult is there's all of these stressors, both physical and mental, that go across the board here. So making sure that we're tracking those in some way, shape, or form, that we're listening to our athletes in terms of what their body is saying, but then also tracking kind of the load that happens throughout a practice. And we actually got some new technology this year that's allowing us to track it in some different ways, and it's raising some different questions that are really, really cool. But just understanding it's a long season, and we don't necessarily want to be at our best right now. We want to be at our best when it matters most, maybe in the middle of the season or in the postseason. So trying to pick some spots where we want to peak and making sure that the load that we put on our athletes, both mentally and physically, is the right amount to make sure that we get there.
How about, like, I know in football, for instance, that you're not going to show everything early on, and you're trying to add each week. How much do tactics play a role as you're trying to learn your team, but add just a little bit each week?
Yeah, they play a role. For this year, it's a little bit different, and I think for every year, actually, just because we're implementing systems as we go right now. Just with the amount of time that we had in the spring, it was a lot about getting better individually and trying to put those together into systems. But now it's adding little nuances into the systems of, in this situation, hey, we can do this, both offensively and block and D. So right now it's a little bit of layering those systems, and it will be the same, like I said, in the future, just because college athletics is really awesome that everything's temporary. You get athletes for 4 years, and then you have to reteach new athletes, and it's this constant flow of this team is changing. So that'll continue, but I think once we kind of get a basis in there, there'll be some, I don't know, more subtle nuances in terms of our offense. But we're big on mastering the fundamentals of our craft, so that will stay the same regardless.
You mentioned to me a few weeks back that there was so much growth from when you left and you came back, right?
Yeah.
So how about from the exhibition part of it to now? I mean, are we still seeing that incremental growth?
100%. And I think whenever you throw a new team with a new coach, there's some nerves and some bumpiness that you need to get through. And I thought even in our first match against Omaha, there was a little bit of like we were trying to be something as opposed to just, hey, this is who we are. And we actually noticed it from warm-up on against Pepperdine. They were just more comfortable in their skin, and just it showed in the match. We just stepped out there and we played volleyball the way that we were supposed to. And we talked before the match, just in the Omaha, it was like, let's wait and see what they do. And like, no, let's show them who we are and make them adjust to who we are as this match goes on. And we 100% saw that against Pepperdine. And what we saw was a really, really good volleyball team.
So great programs have a sense of urgency no matter who the opponent is. Mm-hmm. Do you sense that with your team?
Yeah, I think so. I think I sensed it in the Pepperdine match. The biggest thing I'm curious about, which we might talk about today as a team, is like what's going to happen when we get pressed. Whether that be what happens when we get down 2-0 or what happens if we lose a volleyball match. That's where the great teams, I think, show up. It's not when things are easy. It's when things get difficult. How do we respond to those? So that's what I'm curious to see next. But again, really, really good foundation to build off of.
Do you have any coaching philosophy for short-term memory when a player makes a mistake? Like I see it with my kids. When they make a mistake, it lingers. I'm like, dude, just move on. Next play.
Yeah, we talk a lot about having 0.25 seconds to be angry at yourself. And our sport's very interesting. It's a little like football where you get to come into a huddle. And we talk a lot about the fact that I think there's some things in sport that are wrong. And like there's no I in team is one of them that I think is absolute. I'm not allowed to say bad words on the air. But I think there's a bunch of I's in teams. I think if any coach that's ever had a team, like no two teams are the same. And it's made up of a bunch of personalities. So we just talk about in that instance of you got 0.25 seconds to be, hey, this is about me, and that be angry at yourself. And then by the time you get into that huddle, that's the time that, hey, like, this is about the team now. Like, I'm here. I'm sorry I made a mistake, but I'm going to make it up for it in the next play. So we talk about, hey, you can be pissed off at yourself for a second, but then you got to realize, hey, take a breath, make it about the team, let go of it, move on to the next play. That's what we need right now.
Offensively, you hit at a 364 and 420 rate, which is impressive, obviously. What are you seeing from the setters and the hitters?
Yeah, I think balance. I think we got 6 players on the court who can put a ball away, and it's really, really hard to defend. And you're seeing in a match our opponent try to do different things, and we're recognizing it and then go in the other direction. And it's going to be really, really hard to defend us. I don't think we're a team of superstars right now. I think we're a team that has a lot of balance. And I think that you're seeing that. I think you're seeing different people on different nights. I think you're seeing an even distribution. And we're able to put the ball away in a bunch of different places.
So a very dominant front line. Where does the importance of the defense lie? How important is that, I should say?
Yeah, I think our block is going to be something that will make us stand out. And I think just the one thing that, again, I was in practice, I stopped it yesterday. Like, we talked about battles in different phases of our game. And one of the phases is the out-of-system game, when maybe the ball is pushed off to 20 feet, both on when we're blocking and when we're on offense. And I think we're dominating that right now. Our hitters are taking big, aggressive, assertive swings. And if we're not getting kills, we're getting the opponent out of system. And then our block is just getting into the right spot time in and time out. And it's making it really, really hard to put the ball down. And the biggest thing that we've been working on, I think, defensively is just making the easy right now, of taking the easy ball, putting it in the middle of the court so that we can run our offense immediately afterwards. And I thought we did a really, really good job of that during the weekend. And, again, that's part of the reason why you saw that efficiency spike.
Is your story, I think it's unique, but tell me, is it like basketball player who kind of falls in love with volleyball? Is that, because I can see it now, like you're in the same gym, right? Like I can see the transition. Have you heard of that before?
I don't think it's unique. I think you get a lot of people, especially in Southern California, who stumble into volleyball for that reason. Just that you're playing basketball during that season, and then all of a sudden you have a volleyball season where instead of doing maybe track and field, you're thinking, hey, I want to stay in this gym and I want to stay indoors. And so I don't think it's that unique, depending on where you're from. I think if you're in Texas, yeah, very unique. But if you're in California, it's one of the bigger sports there. So I know I wasn't alone.
What's ahead for you all?
We head off tomorrow, actually. It was a pretty quick turnaround to Bowling Green, and played 3 really good volleyball teams. And again, I've been saying it, our schedule isn't the Blue Bloods, the traditional powerhouses, but we have Loyola Chicago, who just beat Purdue, who I think was ranked 13th at the time. And you have Bowling Green, who took Ohio State, who's ranked 7th to 5. And you have Wright State, who took a set off the number 2 team in the country. So 3 really, really tough opponents that stretch us and test us in some different ways. But again, 3 really good volleyball teams and opportunities for us to learn and grow.
Jamie, I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Right now, we need caller number 1. We're going to give you a free car wash from Aggie Express Car Wash in South College Station off of William D. Fitch in Greens Prairie. Aggie owned and operated with the friendliest staff and a personal touch. They offer a monthly membership. We'll give the first caller a free car wash right now from Aggie Express in South College Station, 979-693-1150. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers here in the Rollo Insurance Studio. Time for the KBTX Roundtable. I don't have a name for it. I feel like that sounds good.
I like it.
You
It
like
works.
That was cute. It
KBTX
works.
Roundtable.
It works, yeah. Daryl, how you been, buddy?
I've been well.
Daryl Bruffett with us here. Morgan Weaver, Tyler Shaw, part of the team. So we're continuing this partnership here. And guys, I kind of figured we'd find out, but we'll start off with you, Daryl. Just Connor being the guy, I assume you thought it was coming anyway.
I didn't think that there was really any choice. I mean, I know Max played well last year, but Connor seemed like he shined above everybody at the end of the year. So I thought, man, this whole thing being drug out is just I don't want to say it was a joke, but I thought it was kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not a football coach. I don't pretend to be a football coach. So, I think maybe the reason you hold on to that and don't name it is that you continue how the competition's going to be going in practice, and that's always going to be a good thing. I want to know how Jalen Henderson's going to be, because in the last 2 years, they played 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So, Jalen, don't think that you're not going to get any playing time, because they're going to need you.
Yeah, and Marcel Reed, too. I mean, you never know where it could go. You've been at practice quite a bit.
I have been at practice quite a bit.
What have you seen from Connor?
I mean, I've seen Connor do what Connor usually does. He looks accurate. He looks like a leader out there. So, like Daryl said, I didn't think it was much of a competition heading into this offseason, and they just kind of told us it was a competition.
Tyler, you feel the same way?
I do. I think part of it is maybe, I mean, I was surprised, hearing that, there's this competition going on. Maybe they were trying to force one, and it probably turned into a real competition. Because I think Jimbo knows in the back of his mind he needs a really good backup quarterback, and they have that right now in Max Johnson, who could start for most teams he's on. So I think they're trying to entice that competition.
See, my thinking is nobody should have a guaranteed spot on a team that came back from 5-7. And I do understand Connor is the best option out there, but I want my backup quarterback to push my starting quarterback to feel like, all right, I feel him. I'm better, but I feel him on my neck. And from that respect, Jimbo may have known for months, right? He may have known for weeks. We've all kind of felt it was going in that direction, so I didn't have as much of a problem. What about optimism? We'll start off with you, Morgan. Are you all in, or you've been burned a couple times too many?
I think I've been burned a couple times the last couple of years, but I think I am more confident this season, and I think the guys are even a little more confident this season. I mean, I think, was it Damani yesterday talking about how it's kind of the same mentality as last year, but they feel more confident in themselves, and the vibe in the locker room is still pretty motivated. So I have some confidence in them, but I'm not all in. I'm not going to be all in.
Not all in?
No.
Are you all in? And I don't even know what all in means. Does
Right.
that mean 9 wins, 10 wins,
I'm cautiously optimistic. I'm kind of with Morgan, where this is an older group, a more mature group. You can already tell, that they're built, I guess, better to succeed. But I've got to see it to believe it first. The last thing I saw was a 5-7 win season. The off season, practice doesn't really count. I want to see in game until I can start saying, okay, this team's for real.
Daryl?
Once I figure out the replacement for Devon A-Chain, then I can give you an answer.
Okay.
But, God, that's a huge loss.
That is.
I mean, especially with what we saw him do against LSU. Had he been healthy the whole year, had Anias not gotten hurt, whole different ball game. But with that being said, I am hopeful.
Yeah.
I think if they are able to beat Miami on the road, I think that's obviously their first hurdle. They do that, I think that gives them some confidence. I think that they still beat Arkansas. I'm thinking it could be 10-2. Tennessee and LSU is losses.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that.
Don't look past New Mexico.
I know, App State Part 2. But I'm just, I put on my maroon-colored glasses, and that's what I see.
Well, the reason I am optimistic is, and I've said this before, it's not
The
an original.
experience?
Well, the experience is certainly part of it, right? The experience goes a long way. But I feel like Jimbo looked in the mirror, identified some issues he had to fix, and they have made moves. They brought in an offensive coordinator, right? To me, that is a big step. Connor is starting day one as opposed to later in the season. Mm-hmm. And yes, defensively, they got to stop the run. If they can stop the run, they should be better. And that's where the experience, McKinley Jackson being healthy. Health goes a long way. You mentioned Anias being hurt and Devon missing some time. That is important to this team. Mm-hmm. All right, we'll move on. Daryl, you've covered a lot of teams, and I mean that with a lot of respect. I've covered a lot too myself, right?
He just said I'm old.
Your historical perspective.
Usually in this room, I'm the oldest. Well, except when OB's here.
Sorry.
Does this offseason at all remind you of any that you've covered in the past? Because there have been some stinkers that A&M has had, or at least years that didn't live up to the expectation that we had. And hopefully what will be, all right, that was then, this is now.
We laughed when you were in your commercial break. I can't remember if I closed the door behind me. There are things that I can remember. I can remember my first A&M football game with LSU in '87. But, comparing off seasons, that's kind of tough. I did kind of do a little research because you told me that we were going to look at this question. They've really only had, I think, 4 losing seasons in 50 years. Mike Sherman had a losing season in year 2. Tom Wilson had a losing season in year 2. Emory Bellard had a losing season in year 2. Pretty disappointing to say that Jimbo had a losing season in year 5. But I think that their offseason, again, 5-7, and your coach is still here, that's a pretty good slap in the face. I am very encouraged I have family that lives in Arkansas. They say Bobby Petrino is the real deal.
Yeah.
Now, he does have kind of a history that, that follows him. But, hey, if you're talking about a football coach calling plays, they say Bobby Petrino is about the best there is.
Well,
so I am very encouraged with that. But I don't know that I really answered your question.
Well, I mean,
I kind of circled around it like, an elderly person would.
Well, let's talk
back to it. It's okay.
Let's talk about Buchanan for a second, because is he worth another touchdown or two? Because if he's worth another touchdown or two,
they win more games.
They win a heck of a lot more games, because the defense, even though they had their issues, and they certainly did have their issues, was good enough to win games, right? They gave up, what was it, 20 points a game to their 22 that they scored. So if you can score in the 30s, you are potentially a 9-10 win team, and I think they can score in the 30s, Tyler.
Yeah. See, I think the biggest thing is going to be the consistency. That's what I'm excited. Again, we can't, see into the future, see what's going to happen this season with injuries. But if you have Connor Wigman starting week 1 with that receiving core, with the offense around him, and Bobby Petrino calling plays from the start, I mean, I think that their offense is only going to get better. And I've been encouraged, too, with how much of a backseat Jimbo has taken. Because, it's been a lot of speculation of, is he actually going to? But even in practice, Bobby's with the quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Bobby said, I'm the one calling the plays. So I think, like you said, Jimbo really did take a look in the mirror, and he's made the changes necessary.
So what do you guys make of that? All right, just throw this in here. Of all this offseason chatter that Bobby and Jimbo aren't going to be able to coexist, where does that come from? Like, Jimbo's given us no reason to believe that. You got an idea?
No, I just think we don't talk about that with any other football team, so why are we discussing it with this football team? But I think some people like to think Jimbo has a bit of an ego, but he's taken the back seat and he's said, no, I don't. Bobby Petrino's going to call the plays.
Nick Saban's got an ego, right?
Yeah.
I think it comes from the fact that Jimbo called the plays.
Yeah.
That means that you've got to, relinquish that part of it. And Jimbo's made no secret about it. He loves calling plays. Yeah. He loves doing that part of it. So I think that's where we all kind of drew the, conclusion that he would have an issue with that. When you talked about the offense and a couple of, touchdowns better, I don't know how much it actually has to do with Bobby Petrino as much as it has to do with those 5 jug butts that are on the offensive line.
Well, I do want to get into that here in a second. Speaking of...
Is that okay to say that?
Of course. Yeah. You're good.
You already said it.
It's on your TV station, too. So we're, But what I was going to say about that is, like...
I meant that in all sincerity and
with love.
And love.
Yeah. I don't really care who calls the plays, because I think it's going to be a collaboration on any team. I care about the creativity of the offense. And that work has already been done. And they haven't had an issue there. So, right. I think we all know, it's 3rd and 1. Maybe we should give the ball to Devon A-Chain. Like, I don't think it takes a brain, a doctor to be able to figure that out. I want to see creativity. I want to see movement. I want to see them feed the studs, as Bobby Petrino said. All right, biggest area of confidence for you. If there's an area on the team, is it quarterback, line, defensive line? Where are you most confident, Morgan?
Wide receiving core.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have plenty of talent on the outside, and I think if Connor Wigman's back there, I think they'll be productive on offense this year.
Daryl?
I agree. But, he's got to have time to be able to throw and find his 2nd, 3rd, and maybe even 4th option. But, yeah, I'm with Morgan.
He better understands the plays this year, too, so I think that will be easier.
I think that's a big part of the offense. We're talking about is, you don't care about who's calling the plays, but also the communication and the chemistry between the coordinator and the quarterback. If everyone's on the same page, I think that's all that matters. But other than the wide receivers, I'm confident in the defensive line. I know we talked about their issues with stopping the run and everything, but when you have everybody back with that amount of talent and that depth, and now that experience, I think, that offensive line is going to be very, very tough to stop.
Let's hit a break here. We'll finish out because I'm going to ask you the biggest concern, and the jug butts, I think, might be yours. So we'll get into that and more here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. And we're back on TexAgs Radio. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're here in the Rollo Insurance Studio, continuing our KBTX roundtable.
Also on the CW8 Aggieland.
CW8 Aggieland, that's right. Hello.
Got to get the shameless plug in there.
I say hello to the CW every morning. So let's talk about the biggest question. And you alluded to it, but your biggest question, Daryl, is the offensive line.
Yeah. I really think, and again, you talked about it, they got to stay healthy. And I've said it, I think, on this program last year. When they won the Big 12 in '98, they ended the season with the same 5 offensive linemen that they started the season with. That's very unusual, but health was a key for A&M winning that in 1998. So I'm not saying that, they've got to stay completely healthy because you've got some depth, but you've got to have, solid play across that line in order to be able to buy your quarterback some time, open some holes, and, as you said, score some points.
If I were to tell you their upper half offensive line of the SEC, is that good enough to reach the level that we expect A&M
It's a
to
good
get?
starting point.
Yeah.
The one thing I do not want to see, and of course, what Daryl wants doesn't matter, but guys, don't jump off sides.
Yeah.
Let's not go backwards. It's all about going forwards.
All year long, buddy. All year long. Biggest concern for you?
I would say that as well, but I'll also say stopping the run. Because as good as their secondary was last year, they got ran through pretty much almost every game. And you got to stop that.
What did Ole Miss have? 390 yards, Tyler? Is that right?
That sounds right.
Yeah. That's too many.
I remember putting that because we do stats after the game on our post game show or on KBTX, and I remember putting that number in there, thinking double checking. I don't think this is right, but they did it. They ran for
and they had a chance to win too.
Right, it's a close game. I mean, that was Wigman's first start. He played well, really well that game.
So, what is your biggest concern?
I mean, not to be a copycat, but the offensive line. And my experience with A&M doesn't go back as far as '98, but in 2020, that offensive line was the same group from 2019. And I guess this is maybe an encouraging part because in 2019, they didn't have the best offensive line. Same guys, nothing really changed, but in 2020, all of a sudden...
Way more experience.
Way more experience, the chemistry. Because I think that's the biggest thing is the chemistry together. You can have a lot of individual talented offensive linemen, individual players, but the fact that they play well together as a unit is what you need.
And it's also year 2 of Adazio, and I think that should matter. For Durkin on the defensive side, for Adazio, I think having that voice for a full year now, I think should help.
The continuity, yeah, for sure. And then, we talked about the running backs earlier. I'm not entirely concerned about replacing A-Chain just because I think it's just going to be a new kind of offense. You've been used to having Isaiah Spiller, Devon A-Chain, having a feature back.
Travion before that.
Travion. They're just going to have to adapt. Maybe they don't have that feature back. They've got a guy, 2 or 3 guys they rotate through, but hey, look at the weapons you have on the outside. That's your power right there.
Morgan, you've been to a lot of to camp. Anything jump out when you're there? Like, all right, this feels a little different. Vibe, culture, the way they practice. Anything jump out at you?
Stretching.
Like we talked about the break, we don't see too much during practice, but I think the vibe is pretty similar to last year, but I just think they know more this year. I think Jimbo mentioned that the youth knows that a lot more goes into it than they thought. So I think they're just a little more mature this year, and I think you can see that at practice a little bit too.
Todd?
I think what's going to help them from a practice standpoint just is the way roles have changed a little bit. With we talked about Jimbo and Bobby Petrino. Last year and since Jimbo's been here, he's been with the quarterbacks. He'll walk around, but he is with the quarterbacks, working with them, and that's that's his specialty. That's what he likes doing. But I think when he's kind of gets more of a C in every single group now, he's more walking around. You have Bobby focusing on that. That frees him up to kind of oversee everything a little bit more to another level. That's the biggest difference I've seen.
I'll tell you what I've noticed. I've noticed a concerted effort for those guys to be brothers. Like, I see them every drill slapping each other. Like, good job. Like, there's commentary after everything that they do. If it's the stretch line, the coaches are coming in, pumping them up every time. I feel like just there is a brotherhood that came from that losing season. Have you noticed that, Morgan?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they like the brotherhood part. I mean, they're complimenting each other all the time. They brought in both Max Johnson and Connor Wigman in the middle of their quarterback battle, to a media availability. and they both spoke highly of each other.
Right.
You know, they're competing for that starting spot, and they're saying how good the other is. You got Damani Richardson praising all these freshmen. It does seem like a tight-knit group.
I don't want to really call it the first real test, but when do you think we'll know, all right, this is the A&M team that, you're like, this is who they are? Is it the Miami game? Do we need to wait till SEC play, Daryl?
God, I think we're going to find out a lot Saturday. If they can play, I don't want to say they have to play mistake-free because it's the first game of the year. You know they're going to make mistakes. But if they can, again, not jump off sides, not hurt themselves, if they can take what the defense gives them, and of course, all I'm talking about is offense.
Yeah.
They can take what the defense gives them and exploit it, then we get some answers. The Miami game, I think, will be a lot tougher competition, but it may not be until we get to see them line up against, Arkansas and all their massiveness, because Arkansas is always huge.
Yeah. Morgan, what do you think?
I think we saw some red flags in game 1 last year that we ignored, and then we saw them again in App State. So I think we should see this Saturday what kind of team, not exactly who they're going to be, because I don't think one game completely shows you who a team is, but we'll see some little things that we might notice throughout the season.
Tyler?
I agree. The game 1 is kind of important because I remember seeing that, the Sam Houston game and coming away like, that was kind of a stagnant offense, apart from a few big plays. But I kind of brushed it off as it being week 1, which I guess technically you can do because teams turn it around all the time. But that was kind of foreshadowing what's to come. So we're going to see a lot on Saturday. And then Miami being on the road, I think, is big too. See how they play, not in Kyle Field.
You know what I want? I want what Notre Dame did to Navy. Win 48-3, 48-0, score a bunch of points, get Connor out of there midway through the third quarter, let Max finish it out, and then one of the other guys to play. That's going to do it. Thank you so much for coming. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
We just do not want any lightning delays.
No.
We'll take the rain, no lightning.
Yeah, he's exactly right. When we come back on TexAgs, Jordan Pugh going to be joining us next here on the program. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. All right, so remember Dave Chappelle used to have a thing called when keeping it real goes wrong or keeping it real goes bad? This is when keeping it real goes right. Jordan Pugh joining us, who always keeps it real on the program. Good morning, JP. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm ready to talk about it. So I'm not going to say you were alone in this because there were many people asking for Connor a year ago. I had high school coaches texting me like before the season, what are you guys doing not starting Connor? I remember that clearly. He's the guy now. Take it away.
Well, I mean, I think it's two things. You got to plan for the future. So I think we talked about it last time I was on. I think that his skill set is what we're looking for offensively, especially what Petrino wants to do offensively, be able to move the pocket, a lot of boot swaggles, but also what you saw at the end of last year, how he took over the offense. He gained the confidence, but there was a control factor, okay? So I think with what we're doing offensively, I think he fits perfectly with the type of scheme that we're running. Now, if we look at it from a strategic standpoint, you have a guy in Max who's capable of playing. I don't think he's the better guy, but also he's transferred in. So there's a little more allegiance / loyalty to staying here and seeing it out. And you have a quality backup. You have a guy who can play for the future right now. You have a guy who is fully capable of leading the team. I just think he possesses everything that you need from a quarterback standpoint to lead the team, to earn wins, but also take control of the offense. I think you need that one person who can control it. That's what hurt us last year. Of course, we had the injuries. But now you have a guy who's fully confident, and he knows this is his team moving forward.
Yeah, and Jordan, I'm going to tell you, man, what I've seen, like there's something about the ball he throws, the placement. We saw it in game day, right? I'm watching it. It's even better right now, like from the scrimmage where we get to watch, or the open practice, I should say, to what I've seen in practice. There's just a rhythm and a confidence in his throws that he knows he's going to put it in the right spot. And what that does for the receiving core, that's already extremely good.
Yeah, it's confidence. It's something, man. From when you play your first year, you're trying to just figure it out, right? It's your first year in college, 100,000 people. You're on primetime TV all the time. There's high expectations. You don't even know what you can do yet until you do it. Then you have a guy in Connor that comes in, he's forced into action. He gets all the way to the LSU game, and you saw the team shine, but you saw the team shine under his control. I think that played a huge factor because there was big success over a team who started off with nothing, gained a whole bunch of hype by the end of the season, beat Alabama, played for the SEC championship game, and you go out there and you stomp them. I think the confidence that he gained from those games, from those experiences, it leads over into the offseason, right? So now the players know they can trust you. The players know that you're a playmaker. So what you believed about yourself is true. And I think that plays into the second season. You have that experience. You know that you lived this college life. You lived this SEC schedule before. It's nothing new now. So now it's more of stacking what we already have, knowing what we can already do, and just applying it to game plans, to the field, and just leading the team.
Talking to Jordan Pugh here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I want to talk about what a good offense can do for this defense, because this defense, they had their issues. There's no doubt. But they also were on the field a lot, right? So what does a good offense do for a defense out there that has got to shore up some things, no doubt about it, but just the overall, when they're holding up their end of the bargain, what it does for the other side?
Well, confidence. So this it's kind of a good question that you asked. I've been thinking about the new rule change with the clock. The clock's still running on first down. So you're looking at ball control with the offense, being able to control the tempo of the game. I think a lot of the issues that we had last year was the problem we had with not controlling the tempo of the game. I think that we got behind on downs early, so it put us in situations where it forced us to be predictable. But now, going in with Petrino coming in, hopefully creating that balance along with exciting plays, it breeds confidence in the defense. Because defensively, you know that if I can get that ball back to the offense, one, I know that we can control the tempo of the game. Two, I know that we can score at any point. So it gives us a confidence defensively in order to play full speed and know that our offense can ultimately control the outcome by controlling the tempo. So I think it's big. I think the new rule change with the clock running on first downs is big. I think a lot of that plays a role into it.
Talking to Jordan Pugh, TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. All right, let's talk about areas of concern. Is there an area on the defense that you are concerned about?
The first one that comes to mind is the linebacker position. I know that we have Cooper coming back. I just think the depth issue at the linebacker position may be of concern. We just got to see what the development looks like from the offseason. That's one of the concerns that I have. I would also say the corner position. I know we had Grimes that came in, Chappelle at the corner position. It's just, what does that look like? Can we get enough consistency in those two positions to really hone in on the defense? Hopefully we don't have any more. Or well, let me phrase it this way. Hopefully we don't play as much 3-down linemen on defense. We have more of a 4-man front. But as far as concerns on the defense, those would be the two positions that I would really look at. Offensively, it's the offensive line. I think that as far as skill position is concerned, we're among the best in the country, from receiver to the running back position, all the way from guys that we've had on the roster in the running back position to Ruben Owens coming in as a freshman. I just think our offensive line has to be consistent. I think our offensive line has to be set. They have to be able to communicate with each other, and I think that they can take a step forward. I think you'll see this team take a step forward because we'll be able to have more consistency on offense.
I want to ask you about the safety spot, but start it off with Bryce. We saw this dude as a freshman look like a real player.
Yeah. Yep.
And hopefully what will be a huge growth, a leadership growth and a on-play growth. What do you expect from Bryce this year?
But I expect a lot. My biggest thing is where do you slide him in? You have him at the safety position. I know that sometimes we use him down at the nickel spot as well. The thing that I like about him is the versatility that he possesses. But like you said, the leadership position. With him, Damani, you had Gilbert coming back as well. I think those three guys really solidify that back end of the defense. I think Bryce, though, can be the alpha. You know what I mean? I just think from a leadership standpoint, him being on the field, him having that voice on the defense, being able to bring the chemistry and continuity back in that secondary, I think he plays a vital role in that. I think Damani is your elder statesman, your guy that's been around for a long time. He's seen it all. He's had the highs, he's had the lows. But I think Bryce is that true guy who's the alpha who can, one, play the pass, who can play the run, and who can also be that vocal guy to bring the continuity back to that defense.
How important is the experience that Damani brings to that group? Because, as you mentioned, he has seen it all. And he decided to come back. He could have tested the waters in the NFL. He decided to come back. There's a lot on his shoulders this year, but he's spreading it with some seriously quality guys. But how important is he to their success back there?
He's huge. Man, there's nothing like experience, right? One of the things that I always disagree with and I hate is, you gotta learn, take mental reps, all that. Look, the best way to learn is to get out on that field, get burned a few times, win a few times, understand what it takes to win. I think Damani has he's been through the change. He's been through the highest of highs. He's been through the lowest of lows. He has seen it all. And he's a guy who can guide the younger guys through this. You know what I mean? A lot of the younger guys had to step up last year, and I think he was an integral role in the defense because of his experience. But now going in, I think, what is this? Is this year 5 for him?
Yeah.
Then he had that extra year because of COVID. Going into that extra year, man, you're like the dad now. You're like the dad. You've been through the life experiences, and now you want to pass that knowledge on to the young guys. And man, that's a hard task. I remember being in that task the same way my senior year with a lot of the young guys that came and played. But I think, with the young guys playing last year, mixed with his ability and his experience, I just think there's a continuity and there's a certain chemistry with this team. You just kind of hear it throughout the interviews, kind of hear it with Jimbo, with what he talks about. I think that there's something special brewing, but a lot of that has to do with the experience with guys like Damani and just with the team overall, with what they went through last year.
We probably don't think of it until, you're in that situation, but, the conversations between 17-year-olds and 22, soon to be 23-year-olds, it's just completely different, right? It's the kind of thinking a man is doing as opposed to a young man.
Well, I can just tell you off experience, going in from my freshman year, because I played as a freshman, and going into your senior, this is your last go-around. This is it. I have to get it done now. So there's a different type of urgency. There's a different type of want to that you have going into the season. When you look at it from 17, 18-year-old, you're playing your first year, you're just excited to be on the field. It's like, man, cool, I'm playing. You know what I mean? I get to see my face on the Jumbotron. I'm happy. All the crowd's cheering. This is what I dreamed of. But then when the games go on, it quickly becomes a reality. And either you're ready for it or you're not. And that's where the experience comes in. And I think that's why, talking about Damani, and his experience, I think that's why it's big. He's really the grandpa of that defense. If you really break it down, you really look at the guys and their experience level, he's the one who's seen it all. So, man, it's a different way. It's a different way of trying to interact. It's a different way. It's a different thought process when you're in that position. But I think he knows how to handle it.
Excuse the ignorance of what I don't remember, but did you have a different coordinator at all during your time there? And the adjustment, remind me.
Man, let's see. I had 2 coordinators. Yeah, 2 coordinators, 3 position coaches.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think Darnell was my first 2 years, then Kynes came in my last 2 years. So, we had change all about my time at A&M.
So is it true? It sometimes takes a year, and I'm talking about Durkin, right? We saw it at Ole Miss. It took that team a year for them to figure out that defense. Is that really a thing?
Yes, it's very much so a thing. It's not that you don't know how to play. You just don't have the confidence because you don't know exactly what the coach wants. He wants you to play a curl flat. He wants you to blitz on this. But understanding the defense, understanding what everybody else is doing around you, that's the part where guys start picking it up. You don't really start playing fast until you know what that guy is doing next to you, the way that you can disguise it, the way that you guys can look at each other with nonverbal communication and know what that person is going to do. It all goes together. The first year you're trying to survive because the first year you're just trying to do your job well. The second year in the system is, okay, I know my job. Now let's work together and make this thing special. So that jump from year 1 to year 2, you should see significant change. And then with Durkin, I think with all his times and all his stops, it's always been the second year where you see that defense really take over. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Ole Miss where Ole Miss really took that jump defensively, if I'm not mistaken. But I just think, man, in any scheme, any system, when there's a change, one, you're trying to please the coach because you're trying to play. You just want to play. So I just need to get my job done so I can stay on the field. Then year 2 comes around, you have more time in the meeting room. You have more time to look over the film. You have more time to look over the playbook. It's, okay, how does this thing all function together in order to be unstoppable? So I think that's the biggest change, man, year 1 to year 2.
Jordan, follow me here because you say that, and I believe that. I hope that's not the case when it comes offensively. And the reason I don't think it'll be the case offensively is the bar was so low offensively last year that, sure, it may take some time to really master the Petrino offense, but it's going to be a massive upgrade regardless.
Well, the biggest thing offensively is, how do I want to phrase this? It's play calling. Every offense is essentially the same. You go too wide, you go trips, you go I formation, you go pistol, power, counter, over routes, flood routes, all the same. The difference in offense is there's a rhythm to the play calling, all right? So there's usually offensive coordinators are usually calling things 4 plays ahead in order to set it up. The good thing about offense is you get the ball to your playmakers, and your playmakers can make up for a lot of things. So now you're looking at Moose, you're looking at Anais, you're looking at Everett Stewart, you're looking at our running back, our house at running back. I think you have a lot of playmakers that can make up for a lot of faults or mistakes that guys do offensively. That's the beautiful thing about offense. Now, it takes more time to gel. It takes more time to understand, just the scheme overall. But at the end of the day, if you can get that ball in the playmakers' hands, they can do a lot with that ball. So I think, man, there shouldn't be a fall off. The terminology should be about the same. It's just the rhythm of the play calling and how do we progress to set up plays throughout the drive.
Jordan, one thing we haven't talked about is cornerback, and Tyreek Chappelle was solid last year. Jalen Jones moves on to the NFL. You got a couple guys from the ACC. They're going to be competing for that starting spot. Javon Thomas looking really good, the freshman. How comfortable are you with cornerback?
I'm not comfortable. That's one of the weaknesses I see in the defense. I think that Grimes can come in, he can play immediately, and he can make an impact because he has the college experience. Chappelle, I'm waiting to see more. I'm just waiting to see more. I think he has it's not that I think, I know that he has the ability, but now will it elevate? Like we talked about that year 1 to year 2 system. So are you more comfortable in your job now? Are you more comfortable understanding the defense, the concepts of what coach is trying to accomplish? I just think overall, when it comes from a physical athletic ability standpoint, there's no question we can do it. The question is, can we consistently do it? That's my biggest concern with the cornerback position. Now, to combat that, I feel a lot better with the pass rush we have and the front that we have. I think you'll see a big jump in that because there's a maturity factor on that O&D line. So that will help a lot with the corner position.
Is that it? Is it really that simple for you from what you saw last year? Is just the maturity standpoint, not only kind of developing in the weight room, but just you've been here before, you've done it. And, oh, by the way, McKinley's healthy.
Yep. Here's the biggest thing. Last year, I thought the rankings, we were started off at 6 or whatever it was. I thought it was too early, right? When you look at a team that was forced into action, when you look at a team that got embarrassed, and I know everybody hated me when I said this, but I said sometimes the best thing to happen is not go to a bowl game because it forces change. It forces you to change. And you see a lot of guys bought in. You hear about the guys that have transferred out, and you said, man, we really have addition by subtraction. You hear a lot more camaraderie, a lot more people bought into the system. Last year, it forced guys to grow up. So you have the maturity factor. You have on the defense guys being in the scheme the second year. You have a belief in Petrino because of the track record that he has. You even see Jimbo a little bit different. The way that he interacts with the media, for example, he's a little lighter. He's kind of in a better mood. It seems like he has better control over the entire operation. I just think that this is the year that it can pop. I know everybody's down with the 5 and 7. I have high expectations for the team this year. If TCU can make it to the college football playoff, there is no reason A&M should not be able to make it. I know everybody's going to say, oh, that's high horse. No, we have better players. We have better players. There's better overall talent, better overall coaches, better overall scheme, and we have the resources. There's no reason not to. And there's no better time to take over the SEC than now. I'm not a believer in LSU. I think Alabama is finding its way. I think Georgia is going to be down a little bit. You lost too much. This is the time. So I'm excited about the season. I think there's a lot to look forward to. This first game is going to tell us a lot. This first game is going to tell us the maturity factor of this team. It's going to tell us, did they learn the lessons from last year? So I'm looking forward to that.
I think, Jordan, that's the most optimistic you have been since I've been in this chair. Like, I remember, like, you early on, like, not as confident. Am I right? Am I hearing you correctly?
No, look, I love my school, all right? But I believe what I see. So last year against, I think it was Sam Houston, they looked terrible.
Yeah.
offense couldn't block anybody, this, and the other. But I just know from being on the field, playing at every level, experience is huge. Experience plays a big factor. And then if you can keep everybody healthy, that plays another factor. The experience that everybody gained and everybody was forced into action, that makes a big difference. I believe that makes a huge difference, and there's a different type of confidence level. And I don't believe in big time motivation. That, either you want to do this or you don't. But you got embarrassed last year. You got embarrassed. And I think there's something to play with that. I think everybody has something to prove, Jimbo included. And I just have a good feeling about the team this year.
I love it. So let me ask you, you brought up Sam Houston. I brought up both Sam Houston and Kent State the year prior, the opening games. They showed us signs. So New Mexico coming this weekend. I mean, how much will it tell us? Will it tell us much, or is it kind of a TBD?
It's going to tell us a lot. Last year, what you saw was a bunch of young guys who thought they were better than Sam Houston. They didn't, and then they learned hard. They learned the hard way, and they never matured past that until you got to the LSU game. The LSU game, you saw a glimpse of what this team is. You saw a glimpse of what that talent is. Now, when you go into this New Mexico game, what I need to see complete and utter domination from our offense and defensive line. I'm not concerned about the skill positions. We'll do what we do out there. We cannot have the same performance that we had against Sam Houston State. Our offensive line has to move people beyond their will. I need to see that on Saturday. Defensively, I need to see complete and utter chaos on the D line. I need them in the backfield, disrupting everything. If I see that, that tells me that we've matured over the offseason. That tells me that we understand what the assignment and what the mission is. So that's what I'm looking forward to seeing.
You know what I want to see, and everything you just said, I want to see a lot of points early. I don't want, because last year against Sam Houston, you ended up winning by a hefty amount, but it really, it was close at the half. Kent State was close at the half. I want to see 35. Sorry, I want to see 21 in the first quarter, 20 or 14 or 21 in the second quarter. And I want Connor to get a little bit of a break and let Max do his thing, and then let's see Jalen Henderson or whomever.
You know what? You're completely right. You are right. I want to see that too. I think, though, if the offensive line dominates like I want them to, you're going to see that. There is no reason we shouldn't have at least, let's say, 24 first game of the season. There's no reason we shouldn't have 24 by halftime. We are the superior team physically, athletically, and we have the better coaching. So there's no reason to do that. But it all depends on let me take that back. It doesn't depend. It's the maturity that we faced or that we had over the offseason. But also it depends on how we've matured as well mentally. The physical problems will never be an issue for us. It's the mental state. Are we there mentally, and have we matured to that point?
All right, that was fun, Jordan. We're gonna do it next week, right?
Let's do it, man. Every Tuesday, let's go.
Hey, do you like it? Keeping it real with JP or with Jordan Pugh?
Man, look, yes, let's do it. I will always be honest. The one thing everybody listening will understand is I will always be honest. And if we're looking good, I'm going to say it. If we look like trash, I'm going to say it. It doesn't mean I don't love us. I just want us to be champions, man. So I think it'll be fun, man, all year long.
Appreciate you, man. Talk to you next week.
All right.
Later.
Sounds good.
That is Jordan Pugh here on the hotline. All right, let's talk about the Charge apparel. I could see Jordan Pugh rocking a Charge apparel tee, like the lightweight, slightly tailored fit around him. I could see that. They've got those premier fabrics used by the likes of Lululemon and other elite brands. As I mentioned, slightly tailored fit through the chest and the arms, designed to make you look and feel your best. And hello, did I mention that they are Aggie-owned and operated, a purpose-driven apparel brand? They're made right here in the United States, polos and tees. They believe in supporting the U.S. economy and domestic jobs, and that's why they manufacture all their polos and tees right here in the United States. And they are Aggie-owned and operated. 2 Aggies from class of 2014 who met in the Parsons Mounted Cavalry and the Corps of Cadets. In the Corps, you had Tucker with member of E2 and Travis Squadron 2. And 12% of their total sales, not just profits, are donated to veteran nonprofit partners with a focus on mental health initiative. An ode to the 12th man, no doubt about that. Go check them out. They're a Texas-based company that operates out of Austin, but they are all about the Aggies, guys. Owners of College Station, both graduated from A&M in 2014. Check out the website, thechargeapparel.com, or find them on Instagram, The Charge Apparel, or Twitter at The Charge Brand. And we be back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It's always interesting when we have analysis that talks about scoring 24 points by the half. And the upcoming guest is listening who represents the other school. By represent, he covers them. In a few minutes, we're going to have Ryan Tamari on the program from the Pitt Press. He covers New Mexico. And, look, they know. I went on his show. They know that an SEC team should smash them. But A&M cannot take any team lightly based on the season that they had. I do want to talk about that first game, though, because Jimbo, he mentioned something that he hates about first games. Especially in this new transfer world, it's very hard to keep up with all the new players and the skill positions and where they're coming from because they want to get some they want to get more action, so they leave bigger schools. Like I know for a fact that New Mexico's got a receiver that was at TCU last year who wanted to play more, and he went to New Mexico. So here's Jimbo on how first games can be difficult because of the planning part of it.
First games are a pain, man. Because I always get back to the old story. Remember when Coach Bryant put the wishbone in before he went and played USC? Now, I hope they don't put the wishbone in, but I'm just saying, you don't ever know what somebody does in the offseason. You know what I'm saying? And you got new people, new schemes, new coordinators, what they do, have they changed? The first games as a coach, and has been this way for me, when I was a coordinator or whether I was assistant, of the unknown because you haven't seen them play in a game. You know what I'm saying? Those things are always, for me, restless nights, and you try to cover all your bases and what you go over, and then you sit and think for the last 2 weeks, all right, what have I not done? What have I not went over? What film have I not looked? And who has he ever coached with that would know this and do this? And sometimes you go chasing ghosts. You got to be really careful. You can do that, and mess yourself up. But, their first games are always nerve-wracking in that there's no film out there to go off of, so.
All right, Jimbo Fisher, just yesterday at the presser. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Luke Evangelist. Luke, what do we got?
We've got a couple text messages. We've got one from Martin saying, America better watch out. If that team that played against LSU shows up, mark my words. And then we've got a couple talking about.
Hold on, let's analyze that for a second.
Okay, let's analyze.
If that team that played LSU shows up, which means they're able to rush for, maybe not Devon's 200 and whatever, but let's just say 180 quality yards from one of the backs, all right? And Moose has got spectacular plays, and you shut down an opposing elite team. What does that mean, Luke Evangelist? Is that a 10-win team?
That's absolutely a 10-win team.
The team that showed up against LSU is a 10-win team. Yep.
You could even say 11.
Why not say 12?
Why not say 15, David?
I would like to, but I'm not jumping ahead of myself. I'm thinking about New Mexico. What else you got?
We've got a lot of text messages talking about what a great guy Jordan is. Said, love me some Jordan Pugh. He's 100% a good ag. I vote for Jordan Pugh to give the pregame talk with the team.
There was a little part there. I even sent Nick a text saying, "Wait, we need to clip this," because he was like, "We got the better coaches. We got the better players. We got the better facilities. We got this. It is our time." And it got me ready for football season. Any other ones you want to get into?
No text messages, but a lot of.
Did your voice just crack?
Okay. All right. Hey, David, real quick. I know you're busy, but if you wanted to, I heard they're doing another audition for extras for Avatar for the third movie. If you wanted to get after that after work.
Hey, I just want to say I'm not going to make fun of you because I don't believe in doing that to you anymore. Because you became a message board like folk hero, or actually a punching bag. That being said, I always know when you're about to go to I'm going to try to get Nuño. You look at your computer screen. Do you write out your jokes?
No, I don't.
Because this is what you do.
I don't.
For the record, you do this. And then you read it. It's like, we can go to the tape. It's like, hey, David.
Look, I'll show you what I have pulled up right here.
Yeah, you can close the browser.
I got the
you can close the browser real quick.
I got the text message.
It takes 1 second. All right, so it's all right. I heard that there's a certain talk show host, last name Rome, that writes out his whole show. It's fine if you do that.
No,
you
I
can
don't.
be very successful.
David, this is all improv here.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it is. I'm sure you got a little data bank to go to, database.
No, I don't. It's all right, Blueberry. Let's see. Oh, I've actually got a text message from Nate in Fort Worth. He said, respect to Luke for not changing his hair or giving up on the jokes. Don't let anybody change you, brother.
Yeah,
Thank
I agree.
you, Nate.
I wouldn't change it. I mean, who doesn't want a mushroom on top of their head?
I don't know.
Let's hit a break here. We'll come. Have I used that one on you yet?
No, not yet. That was a good one.
Yeah, that was good. Yeah, it's pretty good. There was a Mario. I think it was Mario. They had those little Never mind. Somebody can text you a picture of it on the text line. Please do. Let's hit a break. Let's find out from Ryan Tamari how great New Mexico is. Yeah, they only won 2 years, but this is another year of Danny Gonzalez. So we're going to find out what kind of team they have as we get to know the opponent next here on TexAgs Radio. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Let's get to know a little New Mexico with Ryan Tamari of the Pit Press. I was on his show. I think it releases today. Am I right about that, Ryan?
We're looking. We had the privilege of having Jeff Pearlman, the author of Showtime, the Laker. I'm going to butcher the title there. The winning time on HBO, the Lakers Dynasty. So we pushed you back maybe till tomorrow. No offense on that, but we're looking to have you probably announce it tomorrow. But we nabbed Jeff Pearlman, and we were excited to have him on because I'm a big New York Mets fan. I read his book, The Bad Guys Won. And so I was like a giddy little schoolboy. I was very happy to have him on. No offense to you.
No problem. I see how it is. You're going to go with a celebrity over some local guy. All right, let's get into it.
I want to apologize to you that I'm not Brian Urlacher. And when Keeping It Real goes wrong on Chappelle's show, it's probably a top 5 skip for me.
Oh, I can watch Chappelle all day. Let's talk about Coach Gonzalez, all right? In which we're working on trying to get him on the show. He's completely remade that roster. I think it's how many new players? I feel like, especially the team that we saw here a couple years back, they're completely different, right?
That's a completely different team. He's got over 40 new transfers. You have some from TCU, obviously the national runner-up. The most notable would be Dylan Hopkins, the quarterback. He's from UAB, and the offensive coordinator, Bryant Vincent, came with him. He led I forgot the name of the bowl game. There's so many of them. It's UAB to a win in one of the smaller bowl games, one of the earlier bowl games. So the roster is turned over. And I'm somebody who wrote for the UNM student newspaper a billion years ago. I'm getting old. Still a young guy, but terrible joke there. But what I've seen from the roster, it's something. The point with that is it's something that is hard to wrap your head around because the turnover has been just ginormous is the word. 2 years ago, they had a transfer quarterback, Terry Wilson, who you guys are probably familiar with, was at the University of Kentucky. Fabulous quarterback. He couldn't stay healthy. Last year, they went with Miles Kendrick at quarterback, and he showed some sparks, but he's 5'10". The offensive line wasn't very good. So it's a complete turnaround. And with that said, it seems to be more of Danny's guys that he wants. I've overheard that he, in the past, the last 2-3 years, and by the way, he was hit with COVID very hard. UNM was the only team that didn't play in its state 3 years ago. They played in Las Vegas, Nevada. They played at the old Sam Boyd Stadium, which is defunct, and they won 2 games. It was demolished, and they won 2 games there. I've overheard that he has said that this is his team, and it's a better team. He's apparently said that his teams in the past were not that good, and this is a good team. Obviously, we will find out on September 2nd at Kyle Field. And I had mentioned this to you on your show, and I'm going off topic here, but what Lobo fan would probably like to see is, Mike Tyson said everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. What I would like to see is if they can go into Kyle Field and punch back. Punch back
a little bit. Well, I read this stat, and I was surprised. Tell me if this is correct. 15 wins, 6 seasons. And 9 of those against FBS programs.
I can't confirm that stat off the top of my head, so I'm doing my due diligence as a journalist. I know that they've won 36 games over the last decade. Bob Davie in 2016, they went 9-4, won a bowl game, won the New Mexico Bowl against UTSA. I would say that that's probably accurate. They beat Maine last year. The COVID year, they beat Fresno State and Wyoming in Las Vegas. I mean, both games were in Las Vegas. But hopes are not high, have not been high here. It's a program nationally, I think, that is obviously overlooked for good reason. I'm going back to my high school years before I went to UNM, which 20 years ago, you couldn't walk through University Stadium. At the time, it was a 44,000 seat stadium. It wasn't obviously anything like Kyle Field or anything in the SEC, but it's just losing season after losing season. And for those of you that are familiar maybe with college football nationally, Rocky Long and his 3-3-5 defense things have not been good essentially since 2008, 2009. It's just wins are hard to come by. And you even have New Mexico State that was on a national level on Saturday night with high hopes, and they come in and end UMass's 24 road game losing streak. It's combining New Mexico State and New Mexico. It's just an oddity here. But to answer that question, yeah, I would say that's probably pretty accurate. But again, over a decade, you've seen just 36 wins for a program that is starving for just any kind of excitement.
Ryan, would you say the portal's been good to New Mexico? Because I've seen they've picked up some nice additions, or has it decimated what potential talent was already there?
Are we talking basketball or football? That's a bad joke. Football-wise, I think Dylan Hopkins brings a level at starting quarterback, and it was announced the depth chart yesterday. And Danny, who I love, by the way, Danny is the man for New Mexico football when I backtrack with all the negativity. He announced that Dylan Hopkins would be the starting quarterback, as I mentioned, a transfer from UAB. I think he started close to 20 games at the University of Alabama, Birmingham. He has experience now. They've gotten that at that position with Terry Wilson, Miles Kendrick from last year. I think that is an astonishing get. They have a running back, Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt from Alabama State. He's the starting running back. I see good things out of them. Again, they've had a lot of transfers from TCU. You're on that national level and you come to something like New Mexico, and it's going to definitely be a culture shock, a culture change. But to answer your question, I think, yes, Danny has done a very good job. This coaching staff has done a very good job, and that the transfer portal has been good to them. We will find out in the next few weeks. This UNM schedule is beyond crucial in the month of September. It's at A&M, which I think 99% of people would say, okay, they're going to be 0-1. We get it. But then they get Tennessee Tech, they get New Mexico State, and they go to UMass. I would say that we would find out how well the transfers have been at the end of September, what their record is. And as somebody who's a Giants fan, you're a football Giants fan, Bill Parcells once said, you are what your record is, and we will know getting into October.
We're talking to Ryan Tamari here from the Pit Press on TexAgs Radio. So the fact that Dylan Hopkins gets to team up with his old OC, last name is Vincent, if I remember correctly, from UAB.
Brian Vincent, yes.
I assume that adds a little of the optimism, correct, because of their partnership?
Yes, that has been sky high. That's been at the ceiling. I can't remember in a long time when I've been around the program, I've been away from the program, talking to those that are still involved, and then starting what we've done here at the Pit Press, our site and our show. I can't remember that level of optimism. And last year at the fall game, when fall camp ended, and before they hosted Maine for the season opener, the offense was pretty much sluggish and didn't score. I was at the final fall practice, the final fall scrimmage last 2 Saturdays ago, and the offense made this Rocky Long Danny's defense, this 3-3-5, look out of sorts. Normally that defense has, what I've seen in the last 2 years, has had that offense not knowing what they're doing, out of rhythm. The offense threw the ball deep. They hit deep passes. They ran. They racked up yards against that defense. So the optimism is at an all-time high. And again, if Lobo fan and people that cover the program, if we are able to see them put up some numbers and put up some kind of points against, to start the season against Texas A&M, again, that you don't want to use the term moral victory, but I think that would be a huge, huge confidence booster for this team and for the offensive unit under first-year offensive coordinator Brian Vincent.
I know that you said a moment ago that 99% expect for A&M to roll, but how are the players looking at this? Do they look at A&M as potentially vulnerable because of the season that they had, because that they lost to App State last year, or do they look at them as like, we just got to come here and do our best?
I have asked several people when I was at Mountain West Conference Football Media Days, and I'm going to plug the Circa because that was the first time I was there at Stadium 20. It was amazing. Anyway, when I was at Mountain West Conference Media Days, and then we've talked to some players, and we've had Danny on since then, and I have thrown out that question. Hey, App State went into Kyle Field, they went to College Station, and they won. 2 years ago, Danny had said that the players were just going in there and kind of for the experience, and they walked out on the field, and it was like, oh, we're an SEC country, we're at Kyle Field, we are at Texas A&M University. And then funny story is we had running back on UNM, Zach Vigil, on our show, and he said he loves Jimbo Fisher and can't wait to walk on the field and meet him. And Zach is great. He's a fantastic person to talk to, and he's a local kid. He's from Rio Rancho High School, and they are sort of one of the top programs in New Mexico. And I know I'm speaking to somebody in the heart of Texas football, but it's a prominent program here in New Mexico. And that, I heard that and I was like, oh man, what's going to happen when one of the coaches hears this? What's going to happen when Danny hears this? So you get that perspective from a player who might be in awe of Jimbo Fisher and walking into Kyle Field. Then you have Danny, and Danny is treating this like a business trip. And I know that sounds cliche. He wants these guys ready. He wants them to go into Kyle Field and show not only what they can do against a bigger team. And I heard Jordan Pugh say that, they're every just listing better coaching, better players, better defense, better offense. Bottom line, they're treating it like a business trip, and that they want to go in there and shock the world. And I know that they've heard the App State talk probably since the end of last season, maybe since the end of spring camp. But they are not going in there in awe. They are going in there to win a football game, regardless if the opponent is Tennessee Tech or the opponent is Texas A&M. They are going to win. They are going to go try to win this football game.
Last thing for you, what do they do offensively now with the new system? Are they a running team? Are they spread the ball out a little bit? What do they do?
They want to throw the ball. It's a spread out offense. And this was something that Danny mentioned last year, 2 years ago, and they weren't able to do it. To sort of answer that question, whatever they do, regardless, because they were putrid on offense last year, one of the worst. If the offensive line can hold up, they want to mix it up, but they want to go downfield. And they did that against that defense in the fall scrimmage, the last fall scrimmage. So I would say look out for Dylan Hopkins, a veteran quarterback, to come out this Saturday when they get the ball and try to throw. And they, again, sounds cliche, they will try to mix it up and run, but they are going to look to throw the ball and put points on the board for the first time in I don't know how long. And I hope that they can do it against certain opponents.
That is Ryan Tamari for the Pit Press. Ryan, I appreciate your time, man. I forget, you're not coming, right? Or you are coming?
I am not flying out to Texas. I'm not flying out to going to, which I just learned something new, that is Bryan College Station. I called it College Station forever, so it goes to show what I know.
Two cities.
I'm not coming to the game. I'm sorry?
Two cities. Bryan's a city, College Station's a city. So
you learn something new every day. No, I'm not coming to the game. I'm very, very upset. But when you're a program like New Mexico, you look at their schedule, and next year they're at Auburn, and I am taking, of all people, my mother, who swears by, she goes to church every Saturday morning in the fall, and by church I mean College Game Day on ESPN. This is something I wanted to take her to this year, was to take her to Kyle Field and College Station. I'm going to take her to Auburn, Alabama next year. I'm a little, I'm sorry for that long-winded answer. I'm a little disappointed because it's one of those bucket list things I'd love to cross off. But maybe if they play A&M, here in the near future, I'm definitely going to make the trip.
Ryan, we appreciate it, man. Talk to you soon.
Hey, thank you very much. You guys have a great one.
Later. Ryan Tamari there from the Pit Press. We've got to hit a break here. We'll come back with some stats from Ethan Jones, who's been tabulating some defensive stats about Texas A&M. But before that, all right, if you've got knee pain, get rid of it, yo. If you've got hip pain, you got to get rid of it. If you got shoulder pain, hip, whatever, like wherever your pain is, there are options for you right here in the Brazos Valley, and it's not steroids. You don't need those. You don't need surgery. That is not your only option. There are different options out there that you need to be taking thinking about, and that would be our friends there at QC Kinetics that make that pain go away with an all-natural advanced regenerative medicine treatment. They're helping people every day right here with these amazing natural treatments that restore and repair that damaged joint tissue. It's like turning back the clock. Regenerative medicine uses and concentrated healing agents from your own body, and what it does is it stimulates growth there in that damaged tissue so the joints can work like they're supposed to. And the best part of it all, there's zero downtime, right? You just go and start doing things once again. QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in this exciting medical breakthrough. Patients are getting real, lasting relief, and they're saying no to the drugs and saying no to the surgery out there. They are the way to go. If you've got pain due to injury or arthritis, it's a remarkable option that you should check out immediately. And the consultation is absolutely free. You can call them up, 979-452-6000. QC Kinetics, 979-452-6000. That is 979-452-6000. All right, we're back. TexAgs Radio presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. Ethan Jones in the house, our statistician, the right
I
way?
will go with that guru.
Our
I don't
stats
know.
guru, our Jason Williams wannabe.
That's what I'm saying.
He breaks down stats for us, and we've had a long off season to kind of come up with some numbers. You looked at the defense and started analyzing not only certain players and their trends, but also defensive overall. So let's start it off with an overall vibe of this defense from last year heading into this year.
Okay, let's start with the run defense. So obviously that was probably the biggest negative last year. That was the big storyline. And here's the stats from last year. Yards per game allowed, it was 218.3. That's 124th in the nation, which there's only 131 teams. So that's like bottom tier. Yards per rush allowed per game is 4.9, 107th. And then teams started figuring out, hey, let's run against A&M. They don't have a running defense. So like 61 of the plays against us were run plays, which is 128th in the nation. So this run defense was
everything we saw, the numbers backed it up.
Yeah.
All right, so typically when teams run the ball quite a bit, that might limit the big plays. Did you see that in your numbers?
There was still a problem with us getting big plays on defense. So like sacks, we had 1.58 sacks per game, which is 106th in the nation. Tackles for loss per game, 5.9, 61st in the nation. And then takeaways per game, 1.3, 83rd in the nation. And really, this was the big storyline of DJ Durkin's defense, too. They couldn't stop the run, nor were they making big plays. Like the top teams in the nation, they're going to be making big plays. Georgia's getting pick sixes, fumbles, return for touchdown. We only had 1.3 takeaways per game. And so that was a really big problem last year.
Passing defense, the numbers were good, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I'll let you get into those, though.
Yeah, passing defense, 162.1 yards per game allowed, second in the nation. But like we looked in the running stats, 61 of the plays were running plays. So like this is not as impressive as it seems. Yards per attempt, passing wise, 6.0 allowed, sixth in the nation. Opponent passer rating allowed, 121.5, 20th in the nation. So still really good passing defense. I mean, we had people like Damani Richardson, Antonio Johnson. So it makes sense that we are good in passing. But really, we need to like put it together and get both the running and passing succeeding.
We got about less than a minute left. Let's get into important players. Fidel Diggs and his importance, obviously getting to the quarterback. He got hot and then he got hurt.
Yeah, last year only 8 games. He had 3 forced fumbles, 3 sacks, both leading the team. He's a big playmaker. If he can stay healthy, that's going to be big for big defensive plays.
15 seconds or less. Edge Cooper, give me some of his numbers.
His numbers, he led the team with 8.0 tackles for loss, and he had 1 forced fumble, 1 interception, both second. He needs to be more consistent. If he is, it's going to be big time for this team.
Ethan, I'll look forward to having some new stats, like new things to analyze
sir, me
moving
too.
forward.
I want to look at new stuff, definitely.
Appreciate you very much. Thank you. All right, that's Ethan Jones with our stats. That's going to do it for TexAgs Radio here. My thanks to Jamie Morrison, Jamie McCoy, Jordan Pugh, Ryan Tamari, Olin Buchanan, Billy Liucci. We'll see you all mañana.